Mediterranean and trying to cope with the challenges that we have in the Mediterranean common to all the countries around the Mediterranean through knowledge and innovation. We'll learn some lessons, I must say, which mainly, besides the call and the scientific advances, but that innovation is very difficult, that we should do much more for women to participate in our programs, and we all need to do an effort in this sense. And we also learn that solutions, sectorial solutions, are not solutions. Solutions are always complex because the problems are complex as well. So have been improving in that sense in all these directions, and I hope that the launch of this year will be as successful as in the past. We have honored today to have Nasser Kamel, Secretary General of the Union for the Mediterranean, who is hosting us. Thank you very much, Nasser, for hosting us. We also have Maroun Moujabber, who is the chair of the Scientific Advisory Committee. Good morning, Maroun. We have also as well with us Vincent Ernoux. He is representing the program NECBC MET, which is a brother program, and he will also address a few words. And without further ado, I'd like to give the floor to Nasser Kamel, Secretary General of the Union for the Mediterranean. Thank you very much for hosting us.
Thank you very much, Octavi. It's a real pleasure, actually, to welcome you again, virtually and physically, to the UFM headquarters. Let me start by, of course, greeting PRIMA co-chairs, of course, my dear friend Angelo and Dr. Mohamed, who I think they are connected. They are not? Oh, I thought they are. And also all those who are present here today in Barcelona and those who are participating virtually. You mentioned CBC MED, and also, of course, our partners in GTRD and so many other stakeholders. It's always a pleasure to be around like-minded partners who believe in the role of research and innovation and the important role it plays for a resilient and prosperous Mediterranean. You all know the challenges our region is facing. I mean, the impact of climate change, of course, but also the geopolitical situation, which has, in a sense, demonstrated, unmasked, to be more accurate, the fragility of our food value chain. And this, in my view, should serve as a reminder to our region that we need to work much closer on increasing our cooperation on agri-food and for making our region fit to contribute more to its own food security. In that regard, PRIMA plays a critical role, being, as we say, a trailblazer in many aspects in terms of deepening our bonds through knowledge, research, and of course, innovation. Being aware of the reality of our region and our countries, we at the Union for the Mediterranean continue to deeply value our strategic cooperation with PRIMA, represented, of course, by the co-chair, by Octavi, by the whole team, working diligently to pursue their noble goals. For us, PRIMA is a strategic partner on different dossiers, including, of course, research and innovation, climate, environment, water, and sustainable food systems. This partnership, or strategic partnership to be more accurate, has been reinforced institutionally and politically by the conclusion of the last UFM Ministerial Conference, or the first, which was the first one held under the UFM umbrella, to be honest, on research and innovation, which was held last June, when our ministers highlighted the role of agri-food in the new UFM research and innovation roadmaps, and also, of course, the priority given to climate change, renewable energy, and health. And now we are meeting today and further down the road to discuss and work on how to transform this commitment into reality. We haven't forgotten the importance of PRIMA as a prime actor in achieving those goals. So the impact of this initiative, or the possible impact of PRIMA's initiative on the ground, is tremendous. In terms, of course, of research unit being engaged, project being advanced, and of course innovation being created for our food system. And the result achieved so far, Octavi was mentioning the development, the lesson learned, but the result achieved so far demonstrate that if the challenge are abound, there is a potential of agri-food system playing an important role in our GDP growth, in increasing employment, and of course ensuring basic food security needs for many of our country in the region. And PRIMA knows very well how to harness this potential, not acting individually, but in a multi-stakeholder way as a broader Mediterranean region. Indeed, we need to work more to bring the impact of the result of the R&I towards industry and society in order to reap the benefits of the new solutions discovered for our food systems by better linking researchers with their local community and businesses. For me, this is a crucial step to improve our food security and sustainable food systems through an innovation employability nexus. These goals require a strong engagement with the Mediterranean scientific community, meaning with you. And this is why those information days are extremely important for PRIMA, but also for the UFM, and to be more honest, for the whole region. I will end my intervention here by hoping that this meeting will be a fruitful one, and wish you all who are here in Barcelona a good stay, and for those participating online, a very productive meeting. Thank you, Octavi, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Nasser is hosting us, as I was saying, and we have an excellent relationship with UFM. In fact, it is our political umbrella and the way we can convey and hopefully convey the outcomes of your projects, on the projects that you are working on, to the political level. So thank you very much again, Nasser. It is now my pleasure to introduce a big stakeholder here, a very important partner, the European Commission, in the name of Pavel Misiga, who is representing here the Director General of Research and Innovation at the Commission, and who is our bridge towards this organization, the European Commission. So please, Pavel, over to you.
Thank you very much, Octavi. Good morning. I tried to switch on my camera, but I receive a message that I'm not allowed to do it, that the host prevents me. So if you can change it so that that I can switch on the camera, that would be great. Otherwise, I can just speak. So good morning to everybody, and thank you very much for inviting the European Commission to this meeting. It's a really pleasure for me to represent the Commission that is, I believe, a stakeholder in PRIMA's activity and one of the funders of PRIMA. We consider PRIMA as very important initiative, as it was already mentioned, and it is difficult to add much more about importance of PRIMA, not only for the Mediterranean region, but it really has, the activities of PRIMA have broader ramification. Of course, the Mediterranean region is very important region from geopolitical point of view. It is affected by global changes, climate change, and others. And the solution that will be developed in this region by PRIMA and other research and innovation activities are very important for the regions, but not only for the region. What we do together can be example of and something that can be used in many other regions. So we really consider PRIMA initiative as a model, as a tool that will deliver results that reach outside of the Mediterranean region. What I would like to mention is few things that we see why PRIMA is also special. It is obviously an excellent tool for collaboration between scientists, researchers, innovators in the region. Collaboration that is based on equal footing and real partnership. So this is one important aspect. The other important aspect is that it focuses on key areas of sustainability, so water resources, agri-food system. Obviously, this is at the core of sustainability agenda. So the issues, the challenges are very important, and solutions solutions will help to advance and transform our society to become more sustainable. But the approach of PRIMA is also very special, I would say. PRIMA tries to approach the nexus, tries to adopt the nexus approach, which breaks the silos between traditional thematic areas for research, silos of different sectoral solutions, and try to find interdependencies and synergies. So the solution that PRIMA is developing are truly effective solutions, because these interdependencies are taken into account. And you will see in the annual work plan of 2023 that several topics that are open will actually adopt this nexus approach. PRIMA is also hosting what we call WEFE community of practice. This is about nexus between water, energy, food, and ecosystems. So this is for me also a special feature and innovative feature of this initiative. PRIMA is well connected, as this was said already, well connected to other networks and initiatives. So first of all, it is well rooted in the Union for Mediterranean and its research and innovation regional platforms. It is also well connected to flagship initiatives of European Union, like research and innovation missions, in particular the mission on soil and oceans and water. I see that several topics in the annual work plan of 2023 were actually well coordinated, and the PRIMA work plan and programming documents of these RNI missions are complementary to each other. PRIMA is also collaborating well with research and innovation partnerships, in particular the partnership related to water. It's called Water for All, and I hope that it will be also the same for partnerships, research and innovation partnerships that we hope to create in the second half of the Horizon Europe Research and Innovation Framework Program. One of those partnerships will be related to farming systems, and another one on food systems. So for me, the PRIMA is really the excellent model for scientific collaboration. So we would like to invite you participants in this meeting to use the opportunity of participating in PRIMA projects and collaborate. So I would like to invite to listen and ask questions, but mainly to consider participation, to prepare projects, to create consortia, to create partnership with other scientists from the region, and please apply and participate in this program. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Pavel, for your words that I think that we all take note of what you are saying, especially the relationship with other European programs, which are very important for all the audience here. Let me tell you that now we have 920 people following this info day. It is my honor now to introduce Maroun Moujabber, who is the chair of the Scientific Advisory Committee of PRIMA. So Maroun, over to you.
Okay, thank you, dear Octavi. Good morning, everyone. It is really my pleasure and honor to be here today on behalf of the Scientific Advisory Committee of PRIMA, all my colleagues. We are really glad and honored, what we are proposing today, it's really 1 year of hard work and excellent synergy between the scientific committee and the secretariat, the director, and also the trust of the board of trustees and the support of the co-chairs. I was really delighted from the opening speech of His Excellency Secretary General of UFM about the priorities, and we see that we took that into consideration, but also more delighted to hear what Mr. Pavel said from the European Commission about the synergy between the actual program and the EU missions and priorities, because it was really a hard work from the scientific committee to go through an assessment of Horizon Europe, missions, sectorial knowledge, because we are in the frame of the scientific research agenda of PRIMA, and through a gap analysis of what has been done and achieved since 2007 so far. So we are really happy to see the result of our work that initiated, also to inform everyone that it takes at least 1 year to arrive here. So you can imagine, I'm addressing the more 939 persons that are really following us. It is really hard work especially from the Secretariat of PRIMA to launch this type of work. So greetings to all of you, Octavi, and all the Secretariat, and looking forward for further collaboration and more achievements in the Euro-Mediterranean area. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maroun, for your words and for the effort that the help that SAC is doing to set our annual calls. So thank you very much. Let me now introduce Vincent Ernoux, who is representing today our brother program, NECBC MET. So please, over to you, Vincent.
Thank you very much, Octavi. Thank you very much, PRIMA, for inviting the NECBC MET program, Union for the Mediterranean 2. As Octavi says, we are brothers, and what does that mean? When two people are brothers, usually, their kids, their children are cousins. So that means that you all listeners, potential partners of PRIMA, actual partners of PRIMA, you are also potential cousins of our program, of our projects. And I'm here, of course, today to remind you the importance of synergies. So synergies, it's a nice, trendy word now for a very long time between programs. And this is very important for us, for the European Commission. But the big point here is that it is important also to you partners, potential partners of this first PRIMA call, because we've all been assessing, or we have all been involved in project assessment at a certain time, all of us. And we have seen hundreds of proposals. And we know that for a proposal to be excellent, they have to capture the real and the big picture, the whole picture. And the whole picture, of course, means that the good projects have to capture the synergies, what is being done in the Mediterranean in the same thematics. We have the same thematics, by the way, remember, part of them. And if you are able to reflect in a proposal that you have understood the whole picture and what the other initiatives are also doing, and you are able to transfer this in the PRIMA proposal, that's a big point. That's not the only way to be different, to be the best, but that's one. When I've read one of these proposals, I said, wow, that's a different one, that's a good one. So I think that it's in the interest of everybody, of course, to be in close synergy, to understand what we all do. And now it's time for PRIMA to launch this call. I mean, it's massive, the success that you're having, more than 900 participants. Congratulations, that's really impressive. I would like to say good luck to all of you. We know how difficult and how competitive are programs like this one. It's tough, but we, in our program, we are confident that the excellent proposals always have a chance to be there. Excellent proposals will also consider synergies. I'm not here to talk about my program today, but just in 30 seconds, you know that NECBC MET program is coming to an end. We have 80 projects running. They will finish this year, and now we have moved to another program, a brand new one with a new name, Interact Next Med, and we have been approved in December by the European Commission, and we will launch calls during the year. That's not the moment. And whenever we will do it, of course, we will also give importance to synergies with PRIMA. That's the point here, of course. We want to be in synergy at program level, but also at project level, and that's very important. I would like to say and finish, because I promised Antonella to stick to 5 minutes, that I'm coordinator of the branch office of the program in Valencia. So my team and myself, we are available to respond to any inquiry that you could have and that would be interesting for this PRIMA call. If you're looking for information on our projects or something else, Of course, you have also the Project Managing Authority, GTS, and all the information online. So good luck again, and do not hesitate to come to me if you want to know about synergies with PRIMA, between PRIMA and our program. Please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vincent. Thank you for your encouraging words. And now we go through the bone of the today's Info Day. So we'll now have the presentations of the actual call. Let me tell you that before anything, that this is an Info Day, but the call has not yet been launched officially, formally, because we are pending from the decisions of the Commission, as Pavel reminded us. So we are waiting. The call is not launched, but of course, the program, the call has been open in the web already for 1 month, and you may start working, or we expect that you've been started working already, several of you since then. The session will run as I'll tell you. First of all, our Deputy Director, Omar Amawi, sitting next to me, will present a Slido for us to warm up. And then we'll go to the Antonella, who is the project manager. She will explain the novelties and the big, let's say, the topics, but not in detail, but a little bit the chapeau that is overarching all the sections and the program and all the themes. Then we'll go one by one, starting with water with Marco Orlando. Then it will be Fabrice Dentressangle explaining what we would like to have under farming and the part of farming. Mohamed Wageih will speak about the food and the value chain. Then we'll have Rhouma, who will develop what we expect to see under Nexus. Finally, Ada will tell us what we expect in section 2 and how we expect to see the whole issue. Under section 2, we will, for us, it's very important. You may ask as many questions as you wish, but please wait until the end of each of the presentations to ask the real questions. You don't need to wait until the end of the session, but in the end of each of the speaker's presentation related to that presentation, our colleagues, the names I mentioned earlier on, will try to answer you on time and real time. So as you ask the questions, they will try to answer you on writing, of course, during the session. And what is important is that you still have a little bit slot at the very end for questions that eventually would not have been answered. Please use the question and answer only, the box of questions and answers only for the questions. Do not use the chat for the questions, otherwise we'll not be able to capture the questions. You need to use this box. And we'll finish the first part of today's session then at this stage with these presentations. We'll have a very short break. You can use it to have a coffee. I don't know whether we'll have a coffee here, those presentially, but we'll see. It will be very short. And then You will have the second part of today's, in which Fabrice will tell us about the submission and evaluation of proposals, how to write a competitive PRIMA proposal will be developed by Mohamed Wageih. The PRIMA Partnering Platform, that is what you will use to find your partners and build the project, will be developed by Ali. Then we'll have issues, very practical issues, such as how to prepare budgets. It will be presented by Pau Güell, who is our financial manager. Finally, a PRIMA grant agreement, how it is built for those who succeed, and these will be explained by Julià, our legal advisor. So this is it. You may, at the second part as well, ask questions using, as always, the Q&A box, and it is important that you keep this in mind. And then we'll still have a small room for questions, pending questions, and eventually would not have been asked or not, or the response has not been clear. Thank you very much. And without more from my side, I'd like to ask our Deputy Director, Omar Amawi, to introduce the Slido. Please, Omar, over to you.
Thank you, Octavi. Good morning again to all participants from my side. And I hope that you are enjoying the participation so far. We have, we are approaching about 100 participants, which is very good. As Octavi said, this will be a warming up session, ice-breaking session, before we start the beefy part of the presentations. So we'd like to involve you and to have some interactions with you for purposes mainly of communication and better planning for our future activities in PRIMA. While we prepare the link, which is already, I guess, posted in the chat box, so I would kindly ask all participants to log into this Slido exercise, so we may start soon. While you are preparing and trying to log on, I would like to say that over the past couple of years, in particular, PRIMA has put tremendous efforts and allocated reasonable resources for enhancing its communication with the community. And when I say community, that includes everybody who could be a major beneficiary from PRIMA, including, of course, the scientific community, the politicians, the general public, the industry, and so on and so forth. So my message here is to encourage each and every one of you to frequently visit our social media channels, our website, which has been redesigned and relaunched in a very practical and a very efficient, user-friendly version for further information about the program, about the opportunities, about the outcomes of the program, about the products, about sometimes job opportunities, links with other programs, and all kind of information that could be of interest to you. So we go to our Slido now, and I hope that the majority of you have logged in already, and I believe that many of you have been through this exercise several times before, so it should not be a challenging task. So we go with the first question, and they are very simple questions. Just as I said at the beginning, we need to know more from you to get you more involved, and we need to be able to plan better for the next time. First question is about, we need to know where are you following us from, just your countries around the Mediterranean. I remember last year we had participants even from Far East, as far as Malaysia and Indonesia, and as far west to the United States. So I don't know how far we are reaching the globe in our communication. So please try to answer. See many responses there. Okay, please keep going. We need more answers. If you have not logged in, it's not too late to log into this Slido. Please log in. We need more answers. We need more participants. The more answers we receive, the better, as I said, we can plan our future activities and involve more people and more participants, and we could reach more beneficiaries for the PRIMA program. Okay, very good. So we have so many responses there between north and south around the Mediterranean. That's very good. Okay, then we go to the next question, please. We need to know if you have participated in our previous info days, and as our Director Octavi mentioned, that we are launching our 6th annual work program this year, so it means has been already 5 info days previously, so we need to know if you are newcomers, which is good for us that we are reaching more people and we are gaining the attention of more new participants, but of course we always count on the previous participants who have participated in our info days and in our program. So the majority here never participated, which is very interesting, and it's again nice to know that. Very good. More answers. We'll give you a few more seconds to answer. Okay, very good. Thank you very much. We go to the next question, please. Here we need to know if you have ever applied to our programs, to our previous 5 annual work programs. Majority so far that have never applied, and that reflects that probably or linked one way or another to not being a participant on our previous info days, but you still have more chances to answer and to respond. We have exceeded 1,000 participants in this info day, so I hope that more answers from the participants and more involvement in this Slido exercise. Give a few more seconds before we move to the next question. Okay, very good. So we move to the next question, please. Okay, like we have done this several times, that we pre-launch our annual program before it's officially approved. So we need to know if you are aware that today, this year we made available the annual work program in December, in particular on 24th December. And that's why I insisted at the very beginning that you follow our social media channels and our website for information about the calls in particular and other information. Between December 24th and today, it's almost like 3 weeks, approaching to a month. This is a very good time and a very reasonable time for researchers to be even pre-preparing for applying to the PRIMA program. So please keep following our social media and our website for further information about the program. So 50-50, this is good, but we hope that the majority of you would have knew about this annual work program pre-announcement. Next question, please. Why you are participating today? So I think many of you have different goals of participation today, including knowing more about the program or about the topics, about the rules, which will be in the second part, just trying to find some partners. So we need to know why you are participating today. And again, this will help us in planning better for our next activities in general and our next info days in particular. So very few to attend the PRIMA training part. Okay, to know more about the calls and the topics. So the majority of you are interested to know about more about the topics, which will be coming very shortly after this Slido exercise. Go to the next question, please. Okay, we need to know what are your expectations, or if your expectations were met, if you have participated in previous info days, meaning that you have received the information that you were expecting to receive, you have received the kind of answers about some questions that you may have had. So 45% only. It provided extremely useful information. It helped, but I was expecting more. Okay, we need to know what this more could be so that we could plan better. Maybe like 30% are not sure whether it was meeting their expectations or not. But again, thank you for answering this part and for being involved in this part. And we promise, as always, to keep improving our services and our collaboration with the community. And we encourage you again and again to keep in touch with us and provide us with your feedback. Next question, please. We need to know if any of you are involved in currently running PRIMA funded projects. So as partners, as coordinators, wow, 81% are involved. Okay, we'll give you more time to answer. Hopefully we can get some different answers, but it seems that 80% of the participants today are already involved in currently running PRIMA funded projects. Next question, please. Okay, we need to know like the thematic areas that you belong to. You know, we have 3 thematic areas or 4 main thematic areas in the program: agri-food, farming, water management, nexus. So we need to know who are the, or what is the majority of the participants today. Almost equal except for the agri-food value chain. Nexus is still not receiving that much attention as the other thematic areas, but together we are working on enhancing that for the future. Thank you very much. We go to the next question. And I think this will be our last one. So based on your previous experience, what is or what are the most challenges facing the researchers or applicants? And here you can select, I think, up to 2 reasons. So please feel free to select 2 or 1 if you wish, but you can select 2 answers. Building a consortium, okay. Partnering, very interesting. Mediation of available grants, okay. Let's have a few more seconds before we close. Okay. Thank you very much for your responses. Okay, I think that was very interesting. I think we have some valuable information that you have shared with us. Thank you for your participation. And from my side, I wish you all the best from your participation today, and good luck. Back to you, Octavi.
Thank you very much, Omar. I think that you understand who is the audience today and which are the expectations and concerns of the attendees. So thank you, because I think that is very illustrative, this Slido. Thank you, Omar. And now I'll give the floor to Antonella Autino, who will present call priorities and novelties of this year's call. Antonella?
Yes, thank you very much. I wait for Vahid putting the presentation when it's ready. In any case, it's good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's now my turn and my pleasure to welcome you to the Prima Info Day of the 2023 calls that are in fact about to be launched. And this is the 6th call from the start of the implementation of the program. Well, I continue my presentation. In this presentation, I'll give you an overview of how the annual plan would look like and highlights on the year's goals. After providing a short, is going? Yeah. Okay, sorry, it was a problem of. After providing shortly some background information on the PRIMA program, I'll go over the type of action, the budget, and the calendar the course will entail, and also an overview of the topics, but with a general level of details, and then the project officer, following my presentation, will go on further details on all the topics. For the newcomers, and we have just realized that there are several newcomers today, and I will give you a quick overview of the process leading to the launch of the calls for proposal. In fact, it is a very long process, normally starting at the beginning of the year and ending at the end of the year. The PRIMA program is implemented according to a long-term strategic research and innovation agenda, which has been defined in 2018 through a participatory approach by the 19 PRIMA participating states. And each year, based on the advice of our scientific advisory committee, and today you had the pleasure to meet Maroun Moujabber, who is the chair of the scientific advisory committee, the 3 priorities are translated into annual plans and then into calls upon the approval of the European Commission and the PRIMA governing body. So this is the long process I was telling you, and the adoption of the annual plan for this year is foreseen on the 25th January. So it is likely that we'll be able to launch the calls by this date, or perhaps the day after. We need there a bit of flexibility also from your side to understand that we'll have perhaps a little delay, but not a lot of deviation on what I'm telling you now. So calls are launched then through our website on the date of the launch of the call, presumably, and we hope on the 25th, you'll find all the documents and the annual plan, the final version that I'd advise you to download, because we had the opportunity to upload for you in the website a preliminary version, but I advise to download the final one on the 25th or 27th when it will be available, as well as all the documents that then my colleagues will list with the guidelines of applicants and other important information regarding the calls. And the proposal then are submitted through the INR system. So the PRIMA strategic research and innovation agenda is developed around the 3 thematic areas: management of water, farming system, agri-food value chain, and a nexus theme, which takes in fact into consideration internet connection across the sectors, the energy, water, food, and ecosystems under a nexus approach, which for us, for PRIMA, is very important. According, in fact, to this nexus thinking, the sectors are not considered separate as a silos approach, as Pavel Misiga was stating this morning, but rather as closely entwined sectors. And any limitation to the inputs from one of these sectors can, in fact, disturb the quantity, quality, and access to the others. So PRIMA has introduced the nexus theme in the course in 2019, and now it will mainstream in present and future action the nexus approach as a viable solution to ensure a more integrated and sustainable use of the resources, which is extremely important in the Mediterranean, where the demand of these WEFE resources is increasing due to the population growth, urbanization issues, and the climate change. So for us, for PRIMA, we are boosting and fostering this nexus approach across all our calls. Here, this figure is probably familiar to you. It's about the structure of the program. The program is structured around 3 pillars, the section 3, section 1, section 2, and section 3, as we call. For the section 3, is about activities that are managed and funded by PRIMA participant states. So we will focus on section 1 and section 2 activities, which are managed by directly by PRIMA, where section 1 activities are those action following transnational call for proposal, which are funded with EU funds and follow H2020 rules. Whereas in section 2 activities are activities following transnational calls for proposal and funded by national funding agency of participant states and follow national rules. For you, it's very important to remember that the rules of participation in the PRIMA calls are in fact the same in both sections, and they are both H2020 rules, but with some derogation that have been set in the PRIMA decision, and you'll see the link there for the PRIMA decision where we refer to this derogation. What is about this derogation? According to this derogation, the minimum participant is in a consortium participating to PRIMA is at least of 3 independent legal entities established in 3 different countries considered to be participating, of which at least 1 is based in a member state or third countries associated to Horizon 2020, and at least 1 is established in a third country bordering the Mediterranean Sea. And here we have a novelty for this year, since we have introduced, in fact, a new requirement, a requirement that is applied in every calls in the annual plan 2023, where we are adding an additional legal entity which will be established in Mediterranean partner countries. And there I refer Mediterranean partner countries, we refer practically to Algeria, Egypt, Jordan, Israel, Lebanon, Morocco, Tunisia, and Turkey, where the 3 associated countries to H2020, Tunisia, Turkey, and Israel, and the 3 third countries which has some agreement, international agreement with EU. According to these new rules, then there should be at least 4 legal entities in the minimum consortium, of which at least 2 are from Mediterranean partner countries. And those legal entities should be established in at least 3 different countries. The annual plan 2023 is structured around calls for proposal and a calls for context. Under the section 1, you'll find at least 4 topics, 1 topic for each call and a call for context, while under the section 2, you'll find 3 topics under a single multi-topic call. So another highlight for these calls is the focus PRIMA has on the innovation. The 2023 annual plan, as the previous one, has strong focus on innovation, with 3 innovation actions under section 1, supporting solution, reaching the market, or organizational innovation. An important aspect that I would like to highlight is that proposals responding to the innovation action are expected to develop activities, pilots in demo sites, in big demo sites, preferably involving a large number of stakeholders. That is why the budget accordingly is an appropriate budget to this kind of activity. And thirdly, the point of the multi-actor approach. Again, we are proposing in PRIMA calls the multi-actor approach. It is advised, it is suggested, it's not a requirement, so it's not a must, but it's suggested to have this approach in our calls in order in your proposal, in order to make innovation more demand-driven. This approach ensures the involvement of various actors in all the process of the project, in all the phases of the project, from the planning, the implementation, and demonstration phase, and dissemination of result of the project. Another novelty which has been introduced also by Pavel Misiga this morning from the Commission is that we are proposing for the second consecutive year a topic in collaboration with the EU mission, A Soil for Europe. And also for this year, and this is a new a topic in collaboration with the EU mission, Restore Our Ocean and Waters by 2030. Proposal addressing this project, these topics are expected to be links to the relevant projects that are funded by the missions, including where possible dedicated tasks and appropriate resources for coordination activities between the projects. And there I refer to the project under the mission where it is advised to have this kind of connection, which is the Horizon mission topic on innovation to prevent and combat desertification, and on the other side, for Horizon mission Restore Our Ocean, Waters and Ocean, the call on Mediterranean sea bars and lighthouse coordination activities. A couple of important aspects that we would drive your attention is to consider capacity building activity as a transversal component of your proposal to enhance research and innovation capacity. This would be important that you introduce as possible in your proposal, and also gender equality. The gender equality concerns all parts of your the program. When drafting your project, you must pay attention to the gender equality from different angles in terms of balance. So in terms of research, the balance between women and men in research teams, but not only, also the gender dimension in project research and innovation content. Another important aspect that you would like, I would like that you take into consideration is that the PRIMA will measure its impact in general through the KPIs. This is why you should pay attention to them when drafting your proposal. And also we suggest that you build on other projects focusing on similar topics in order to link with other projects and not starting from scratch your activity, so it will have a higher impact. In 2023 calls, you'll find the following type of action: research and innovation action and innovation action. For the research and innovation action, the funding rate is 100%, and the TRL expected are for 3 to 5, while for the innovation action, the funding rate is 70%, except for non-profit legal entity where the 100% applies. And the TRL, expected TRL, is from 6 to 7. We would like to really to consider to introduce the starting TRL level and the targeted and TRL at the end of the project. And this is very important, and also the starting and the ending targeted TRL should be realistic. I made the example, it's not possible, well, it's not advisable to consider activity starting from TRL 3 and finishing with a TRL 7. The prizes, again, PRIMA is promoting for the third consecutive years the PRIMA WEFE Nexus Award. It's about prizes. It's the third edition of this Nexus Award. It will be assigned to research teams having demonstrated successful implementation of water, energy, food, and ecosystem resources at local or regional level. And we expect that those teams have also links with our WEFE community of practice. As for the budget, the total budget for the calls this year is 69 million euro, where for section 1 that are equally distributed from the EU funds and the PS funds, with approximately 33 million euro from EU through EU funds and 36 million euro through participant states funds. And then the calendar. The calendar, it's what we have found in fact in the draft proposed annual plan that we have already uploaded in our website. And as I said, it is possible that we are launching the call on the 25th of January, and the submission deadline for the stage 1 will be on March, at the end of March 2023. So in order to have the final results by the end of the year, before the end of the year. With 69 million euro, so with an investment of 69 million euro, the PRIMA will support R&I action, in fact, to restore and return degraded lands in the Mediterranean region, foster circular economy and bioeconomy solution along food system value towards carbon neutral farms, to improve water quality, to promote agri-food supply chain and resilience in the Mediterranean, and to deploy WEFE Nexus solution to accelerate adaptation and mitigation to climate change in the Mediterranean. This activity will support the transition towards circular, resilient, green and social inclusive economy in the Mediterranean, and will contribute to important key priority and strategy, not only the European Green Deal, but also the Sustainable Development Goals and regional activities of UFM, for example, UFM Water Agenda, the Green MENA Agenda, and the newly adopted UFM R&I roadmaps for the Mediterranean. And now, without further ado, I pass the floor to my colleague's project officer, namely to Mark Orlando, for his presentation on the topic under the water management area for section 1.
Okay, perfect. Good morning, everyone. Happy to see that we have over 1,000 participants connected in this very moment. So it's nice to see that people from all the Mediterranean countries are following the Info Day. I'm going to start soon with the presentation about the water call for proposal section 1 2023. Excellent. We have it on screen already. Let me see if the remote control works as well. Okay, perfect. Okay, again, my name is Mark Orlando. I'm the project officer responsible for the water management thematic area at PRIMA, and I'm going to walk you through the contents of the call text 2023. For this year, we have a very interesting topic, very relevant for the Mediterranean, about wastewater management and water pollution, a big problem in our region. As my colleague anticipated, this year we are going to have calls for innovation actions, and this specific call, it is in fact a call for innovation actions, meaning that we are expecting projects to reach a high technology readiness level, and we are hoping that this project can be, of course, demonstrators. I mean, for the technological component of the projects, we are looking at large demonstrators that are going to demonstrate the technologies in operational environment at least. The budget for this call is 8.2 million euros, and we are expecting to fund 2 projects. So you can do the math, you can calculate how much it is, the budget for each project. It's going to be around 4.1 million euros per project. Of course, consortia can also request different amounts, but we believe that this is the, let's say, suggested requested budget, because we believe it's going to be appropriate, this amount of funding, to efficiently tackle the challenges foreseen in the call. Just a reminder about the submission, it's in a couple of months. You will have to submit your first stage proposal by the 22nd of March, so please, starting from today, start building your consortium. Later, my colleagues will explain how you can use the PRIMA website to find partners. Now, as I promised, I will walk you through the different sections of the call text. We will start with the challenge. We will set the scenario, let's say, the background of this call. Of course, we know that the Mediterranean region is a water-scarce region. Some countries in the Mediterranean, especially in the south, are among the driest in the world, with high water exploitation index. Think of Israel, Jordan, Malta, and of course, our countries have learned how to cope with water scarcity. However, there's an increasing problem. There's increasingly another problem that is leading to the depletion of our water bodies in the Mediterranean, and it is pollution. We have a big problem with microplastics, micropollutants, excess nutrients and heavy metals coming from different sources, from agriculture and industry, of course, but also from urban runoff and from the discharge of improperly treated wastewater into the environment. I've included a few pictures as example, but all of you know what problem we are facing. Of course, we know that it's not just about the environment, it's also about protecting our health, the health of human beings, and because this issue of water pollution creates problems also for society and for the economy. Of course, we know that the release of excess nutrients into the aquatic environments will lead to eutrophication that destroys aquatic life, that reduces biodiversity. Of course, pollution of water bodies implies some potential threats to human health. Again, I mentioned that there is also, there are issues also for the economy and society. Think of the ecosystems when they are impacted when they are polluted. Also, their capacity to provide ecosystems is compromised. And think of the livelihoods of those people, of those economic sectors that depend on these ecosystem services. Think of the tourism sector, aquaculture, fisheries, especially in the coastal areas where urbanization and population growth are steadily increasing. We can observe an increase also in the magnitude of these problems. And of course, a bigger pollutant load into waters also means that municipalities and industry for the treatment, for the purification of water, there are increasing costs, economic costs. So, of course, these are the problems that we are facing. We have to try and look at the problems and see what opportunities we can, how we can turn problems into opportunities. And in this sense, of course, wastewater management is very important because it has the potential to address the challenge, the problems, but also we can look at wastewater management as a practice that can help recover, for example, nutrients and increase water availability for the region. So this is how we should look at the problems, let's say, in a productive way. For this reason, and I move to the scope of this call, we expect that project proposals submitted to this call address, again, the issues that I mentioned through holistically, through by proposing wastewater management plans based on a circular economy approach, which incorporate sustainable business models that can also let's say, work beyond the end of the project, and by integrating both green and gray solutions, including nature-based solutions. Now here you see a list of activities that we foresee they can contribute to addressing the challenge I mentioned before. Of course, it's important for project also to focus on some specific activities, but we hope that projects will consider all of the ones that we are sharing now in this presentation. So of course, this core I mentioned before, it's centered around a circular approach to wastewater management. And as you can see, the first activity would be the demonstration of nutrient management, so recovery and recycling of nutrients from wastewater and sewage sludge with the aim of preventing nutrient pollution and its effects, and also lower our dependency on fossil-based fertilizers that we know have a very big environmental impact. The upgrading of wastewater treatment plants, especially for better trapping micropollutants and microplastics, to increase water use and to promote better management of sewage sludge management, the optimization of the energy footprint of wastewater treatment facilities to save energy and to reduce GHG emissions, the strengthening of the digital solutions, especially for tracking potential pollutants at both the inlet and the outlet of wastewater treatment facilities. The planning of surveillance systems for COVID-19 detection. We saw during the pandemic, and we are not yet out of the pandemic, that wastewater treatment plants played an important role in the detection of the COVID variants and the spreading of the disease. So this can also be something that you can incorporate in your proposal. And of course, a more cross-cutting activity, the involvement of stakeholders. As Octavi and Antonella mentioned before, it's very important to have stakeholders on board, in this case, because we are looking at not just projects that will develop treatment technologies, but we are looking at the whole wastewater management cycle, and of course, involving all the stakeholders concerned is important, as you can see here, to analyze the governance options, the trade-offs, to understand better the costs, and to improve access to sanitation in the Mediterranean countries. I will stress again a message that my colleague Antonella basically shared before. Proposals should highlight how they will collaborate, build on results of other projects, or synergize with them. Ongoing past projects, PRIMA projects funded by other entities, by other organizations, and in particular, the initiatives, they should highlight links with initiatives launched under the EU mission on Restore Our Oceans and Waters 2030. We expect that by funding proposals under this call, there will be increased market opportunities for recovered or recycled nutrients, the improvement of energy efficiency of the wastewater sector towards carbon and energy neutrality, the reduction of eutrophication in water bodies, and the protection and restoration of affected ecosystem. And of course, also I said that it's important to involve stakeholders, changes in practices across different sectors in society towards more sustainable ones. So as you can see, we want proposals to highlight also what effects they're going to have, what impacts they're going to have at societal, at environmental, and at the economic level. Now, you will see that in the call text, we included some key performance indicator for this call and the other calls as well. Of course, we are suggesting some KPIs. In particular, there is one, the SDG number 6 indicator 6.3.2 that you can use, of course. There are other two that we have included in the call text, but we suggest that don't forget to include KPIs in the proposal to measure the advancement of the project towards its objectives. But we suggest also to include in your proposal KPIs that are specific to the objectives and work that you will carry out. Okay, so you can integrate this list of KPIs with your own KPIs. And again, before I conclude, please make sure that you make it very apparent in your proposal and you justify any links with national, international policies, strategies, directives, regulations, not only of the EU, of course, also they can be national. You have to explain how your proposal will contribute to the achievement of the objectives encompassed in the strategies, policies, and so on. And of course, you have some examples here. SDGs, the EU Green Deal, the Water Framework Directive, or in this case, in Europe, there's the Water Framework Directive that is shared by all the EU countries, but it can be as well also national regulations, plans, strategies, and so on. And with this, I conclude. Thank you very much for the attention.
Thanks. This is now the turn for Fabrice. Please. Over to you.
Good morning, everyone. So I am Fabrice Dentressangle. I'm the project officer in charge of the farming system, and I will present you in a few seconds the topic of this year in section 1. I'm just waiting for the PowerPoint. We can start talking about the topic of this year. So I will present you the section 1 farming system. This topic has been developed for the second consecutive years in collaboration with the EU Mission Soil. And I know that our colleagues are attending this Info Day remotely, so I thank them for that. This topic, as you can see, since the title, from the title, it's actions to restore and return degraded lands in the Mediterranean region into productive agroecosystem. So this is an innovation action, and as it has been already explained before, innovation action are expected to show real concrete result on the ground. So we are expecting project with very high TRL from 6 to 8, and in this call we also have a budget of 8.2 million euros, and we are expecting to fund 2 projects. So each proposal submitted should have a budget of around 4.1 million euros. So the submission deadline would be the 22 of March of this year. The challenge in the Mediterranean region is the desertification. We are living in an arid or semi-arid region, and there is a high risk of desertification in our region. As you can see on this map, the orange is the risky part of the desertification. And what we have observed until now is that 25% of the land in southern, eastern, and central Europe are at high risk or very high risk of desertification, and more than 1/3 of the Med drylands that are already affected by desertification. So of course this problem, this phenomenon is exacerbated by the climate change, and it has real consequences on daily life, because first, desertification leads to a loss of biodiversity and soil cover, and all of this is a break in reality in all the biological and the ecological cycles. It compromised all the agricultural activities. For sure, you cannot cultivate anything if you don't have a healthy soil. So this is a big problem, because in the end, it has severe economic consequences, socio-economic consequences on vulnerable population, and especially the smallholders that are living in the region and that have their incomes coming from agricultural activities. So we really have to act to find solution to fight this desertification problem, and this is the scope of this call. So the scope is very clear. I think is very straight to the point. It's to restore the lands that are already affected by desertification and to turn them into productive agroecosystem. So if you just look to the picture, we have to go from the right side to the left side, to a desertified area to a greener area. This is our expectation, and this is the philosophy and what is expected behind this call. So the approach is to really restore biological and ecological cycle that have been destroyed by this phenomenon. And here I will insist on using existing or already tested solution. Because here we are in an innovation action, so we expect a scale up of the techniques, a scale up of the practices, and to use the varieties. For example, the practices we are expecting to have conservation agriculture practices, regenerative agriculture, but that are linked also to varieties that are resistant to drought, that have minimum requirement in terms of external output, of fertilizer, etc., that can really survive in harsh environment. And here it's not the place to test the varieties, it's to use them and to scale them up. So here in this action, we are going out of the lab. And this is why I'm going to the second point, we expect you to work at large scale, to have demonstration site, to really show in real life condition to the stakeholders, to the farmers, to the policymakers, the added value of your solution, that what you are proposing is really working in real life condition. I insist on that, it's very important. We are expecting projects from TRL 6 to 8 and with large scale demo site. Of course, the circular economy approach is everywhere in our call. You have to think about recycling, reusing, try to promote nature-based solutions that are very important in the region and that can be very cost-effective also. You have to valorize the ecosystem services that have been lost due to the unsustainable practices in terms of agriculture that has been done until now or that have been used until now. We also expect from the project to have a kind of assessment of the cost benefits of the proposed solution, because you have to keep in mind that we are looking for concrete solution, and this solution should be affordable and feasible. So this is very important to have an estimation of the cost and the benefits. Also, we are aware that 3 or 4 years of project, it can be a short time to realize that, but what we want it's that you find a way to sustain your project even after the end of the funding. And the way to do that is to develop organizational or new business model by creating new value chain, by creating new market activities, and by promoting also the employment for the young and the women in the region. It can be also training, etc., but it's very important to try to sustain your action after the end of the project itself. As it has been explained also previously, we want you to, or we ask you to take advantage of the results and sites, why not, of the previous funded project. In PRIMA, we are now funding more than 200 projects, so there are many projects that can fit with this scope. And for the PRIMA project here, I just highlighted 2 calls that are more linked to this topic of this year about desertification. There was one call in 2021 under the water thematic that was about combating land degradation and desertification. So I think it's interesting for you to have a look to this project. And also the call of last year that has been also developed in collaboration with the EU Mission Soil that was about creating a mapping and soil indicator of health in the Mediterranean region. So there are clear connection with this topic, and we hope that you can find a synergy and collaboration with them. Of course, it's not close to the PRIMA project. You can also find a lot of projects that are related and that have been funded under H2020 or Horizon Europe or any international initiative. As I was telling just before about the sustainability of the action after the end of the project, it's very important to adopt the multi-actor approach because it's a way also to sustain this. If you involve the citizen, you involve the municipalities, you involve the land planners, whatever, the private sectors, and you co-construct the proposal. So the people is really involved and take part of the project. We are not expecting a project with pure scientists. It's very important to have a diversity of actors and to have real result on the ground. The project are also expected to create links with the EU Mission Soil, because we developed this topic together, and also with the PRIMA WEFE community of practice. It has been introduced previously. WEFE stands for water, ecosystem, water, energy, food, and ecosystem. So it's a nexus approach. We are taking we are trying to break the silo of water, farming, and food, but to consider everything at the same time. So you can have a look also to this PRIMA WEFE of community of practices. And we ask you to develop or to try to find synergy and to create links, developing common activities. There are living labs that are already in place, so you can take part of these existing living labs. You can also develop capacity building activities, a new way of sharing knowledge, and this is very important. And it participates also of the sustainability of the previous project and the future project if you are sharing data, sites, and network. The expected impact, so it's very clear here we are expecting large demo sites. So for example, I don't want to give number, but I think it's better to have like 2 or 3 big demo sites that are preferably located in the southern country rather than 10 small size demo sites located in a university experimental station or something like this. We want something on the ground in real condition, so better to focus on some sites rather than a big number of sites. Of course, so this is the topic, to restore the desertified landscape. We expect you to propose a cost-effective solution for this, and indirectly, we hope to have projects that can increase the biodiversity, the soil health, and in the end, the food production. Decreased land degradation is fully part of this, and it's at a more global level. But an important point, again, it's to contribute to improving the employment, especially for women and youths in the region. As it has been also presented by my colleague, we ask and we request in all the PRIMA proposal to have KPIs, key performance indicator. Here, there is just 4 of them that are listed. They are the ones that have been published inside the call text, but this is not an exhaustive list. It's just to give you some example, but you are free to develop your own KPIs and to have tailored KPIs to your objectives in reality. In addition, you have to show how your project will contribute to the EU policy, the Horizon mission, the partnership. So again, here we just list some of them: the soil strategy, the biodiversity strategy, the climate change adaptation strategy. But for sure, there are many more, and you are free to choose the one that fits better your project. And to finish, we also expect you to show how you will contribute to the sustainable developmental goal. Again, here some example, but you are free to choose the one you want. I just want to draw your attention maybe on the SDG 15 that has a real a direct component that is about combat desertification, halt and reverse land degradation, and halt biodiversity loss. So I think this is an important SDG. And that's all from my side. Thank you very much. I pass the floor to Mohamed for the food system.
Okay, thank you so much, Fabrice. Good morning to all of you all over the Mediterranean. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I am Mohamed Wageih, the PRIMA Project Officer for the agri-food. In the next couple of minutes, I will take you in a quick journey for the topic for this year for the agri-food section 1. Once we have it ready on screen. Okay. Thanks a lot, Waheed. Okay, so for this year, we have a topic for area action for increasing the agri-food supply chain resilience in the Mediterranean region, especially for the cereals. This is a research and innovation action. So we are talking about the technology readiness level from 3 to 5. The allocated budget for this topic, it is 8.2 million. So we are expecting to fund up to 3 projects with a budget for per project around 2.75 million. The deadline for the first stage or the pre-proposal, it is the 22nd of March 2023. As you may now have the experience about how we develop the PRIMA topics, it is categorized under 3 main subtitles. The challenges, like the problems why we designed and proposing this topic for this year, the scope of the proposed projects, and the expected impacts of your projects. So let's start with the challenges. What are the reasons behind selecting this topic? We all know that in the region and at the global level as well, we have several challenges or problems facing us today. So we can classify them around like environmental challenges in the Mediterranean countries, such as the climate change, deforestation, desertification. And we all know that the Mediterranean region is one of the most vulnerable regions in the world affected by the global warming, for instance. Also regarding to the geopolitical conflicts, we all notice the problem that has been caused and the disturbance in the supply chain, especially during this Russia and Ukrainian war, increase the food prices and food export conflicts, in addition to the political instability in the region. Last but not least, the socioeconomic problems in the region, such as the high population growth rate, which reflect on high unemployment rate, especially among the marginalized people, such as women and youth, which reflect on increase in the poverty level, low income, lead to immigration in the region. And we all not forget the problem that has been raised over the last couple of years with the COVID and the lockdowns. So due to all these conflicts and the challenges, we can see that the world food prices hit a new high record in the 22nd. So to conclude here, that we can say that the combination of the war, pandemic, and the climate changes and stresses fuel a sharp rise in the global hunger and the food insecurity in the region. But let's focus more on the cereals import dependency in the region. We all know that cereals are essential and has been used by a large portion of the Mediterranean population, and it consists one of the basic dishes that we have in the region. It is also rich with and provide us with energy, with carbohydrates, wide range of vitamins and minerals, lipids, and protein. Due to this nutritional richness and the cultural aspect and the heritage, we can note that the southern Mediterranean countries consume the highest wheat per capita in the world. It's around double the global average. 30 to 50% of our cereals imported comes from the Russia and or Ukraine. That's why this war disturbed the agricultural production as well as the trade. Not only dramatic increase the price, but also increase the food scarcity in the region. This is as well twinned with the climate change that challenge our farming system, such as the rising in the temperature, decreasing in the rainfall, the plantation. All these factors drastically drop the crop yield in the region. So due to all these factors, we can witness the vulnerability and the fragility of the local market and the regional market as well. So there is a need now to have a better understanding of the main drivers and actors affecting the local food market and the supply chain in order to have more resilient and reliable agro-food value chain in the supply chain in the region. In order to achieve this, we need to address this through an approach of recommendations and solutions, and both of them together. So from your proposed projects, we are expecting that each project should make an assessment of the vulnerabilities and to identify the market risks using the existing data, as well as to generate a new one, to propose strategies and action plans, and to promote the best practices in the region, to mitigate the adverse effects of the stressors, and to design and present recovery plans. From this solution side, it is not just enough to use the local alternatives, but please, you need as well to integrate the better adapted species that can improve the productivity in our region. Use as well sustainable agroecological practices, minimize the food loss and the agribusiness byproducts and waste through the valorization, and at the end, for sure, boosting the agricultural production. Before proceeding, it is important here to highlight that your project needn't to just partially answer this, but as we keep saying that, we are always supporting the nexus approach. So you have to have this holistic dimension to address all these aspects together. So what are the expected impact of your project? First, to define short and long-term drivers in the agri-food supply chain in the region, to identify the dependencies and the critical infrastructures in the food system and the supply chain in our countries or the countries of your projects, to improve the preparedness to deal with and to predict and to respond to the risks that may threaten the cereal supply chain, and make sure the availability and the affordability of the data through digital platforms, to streamline the local food environment, to diversify the food source as well as use the digital solutions to achieve this, to make a risk assessment in order to develop and to present evidence-based strategies and action plans. Last but not least, to develop innovative solutions in order to improve the efficiency and the effectiveness of the food supply chain. As my colleague already mentioned that, we always highlighting the importance of the multi-actor approach in your project. So you have to make sure that several stakeholders, partners are going to cooperate together. This is essential for the success and the sustainability of your project, from academic background, from the policymakers, the small farmers, the holders, and from the private sector as well. We have already predefined the set of key performance indicators, such as the number of identified drivers, the number of strategies and action plans that you will present and to develop in order to ensure the appropriate cereal supply chain during the unforeseen risks and crises, the number of solutions aiming to diversify the food basket in the Mediterranean region, the number of training that you are going to organize, the engaged stakeholders and the civil society, the number of workshops, public events, and the number of solutions aiming to improve the supply chain of the cereals. It is important here to say that this is not restricted list of KPIs, but you can as well propose additional KPIs specific to your project. As my colleagues already mentioned, we always link our topics and your project as well to the SDGs. So here we just list down some of the relevant SDGs, such as SDG 2, ending the hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutritional and promote sustainable agriculture. SDG 12 about responsible consumption and production, and SDG 17 about strengthening the means of the implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. I just want to underline here target 17.6, which is working for enhancing the North-South, South-South, and Triangle regional and international cooperation. And in her presentation, already Antonella highlighting this new eligibility criteria. That's why we are looking to have more engagement and collaboration between the two shores of the Mediterranean. My last slide about to link your project with the PRIMA Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda, because you have to consider that your topic is not like a standalone, but it is part of the PRIMA holistic program. So here we have this predefined priorities. So we kindly ask you, when you draft your proposal, to go to the PRIMA website and to download this strategic agenda, because it's important to make sure that your project will be aligned not just to the PRIMA strategic agenda, but also to the relevant EU instruments and strategies, such as European Green Deal, the Horizon Europe, mission areas, and very important, the EU biodiversity strategy for 2030. Thank you so much for your time and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Now I am seeing when Omar presented the slide that Dexis did not attract too many, of you. So which is evident, because I understand your point. But hope after the presentation maybe you will change your mind. So waiting the presentation. Yes, my name is Ali Rhouma. I am responsible of the Nexus Water Energy Food Ecosystem. And today I will be talking on the Nexus topics. Yes. Here, basically, as you can see here, we have an innovation action and the Nexus Award, as has been anticipated by Antonella. So you see the title, an innovation action. So we are targeting the adaptation and mitigation to climate change through the Nexus approach. Basically, it's innovation action. So we expect to, by the end of the project, to have higher TRL between 6 and 8. We will fund 2 projects. So 2 projects, each of the project will have 4 million euro, which is a very good budget. For the prize, so 2 winners will be awarded with the price of 10,000 euro. So here the deadline, as you can see, for the Nexus Innovation Action, exactly as the other thematic area for stage 1, the 22nd of March. But for the Nexus, since it's only 1 step, so we will give you more time to prepare your proposal. Before going to the topics, so before going to the topics, let me give you an overview on the previous calls. As you can hear, we started in 19. So in 19, we started by research innovation actions, and until 21, let's say the 3 first year, the calls are focused on the biophysical status of the resources, the water, energy, food ecosystem. Last year, the call was focused on the socioeconomic impact of the declining water, energy, food ecosystem. And this year, we are targeting the adaptation and mitigation to climate change through the Nexus WEFE. So what is the challenge of this call? So as you know, water, energy, food, and ecosystem have a lot of challenges, and they are severely affected by the climate change. The climate change, when I say climate change, the climate change associated extreme events, droughts, flooding, and according to the IPCC report of last year, so the extreme events will be even more frequent in the Mediterranean region. So this situation will endanger the sustainability of the resources, in particular for the southern Mediterranean region, because they are more vulnerable to the climate change, and also they have low capacity for the adaptation. Then the competing demand of these resources caused by the population growth, by the rural urbanization and the economic development will worsen the situation. Another important factor, and here I will highlight it, the sectoral adaptation strategies. So all the adaptation plans, the strategies, the NDCs also have been implemented to meet the sectoral goals without looking at the integrated approach, without looking at the cross-sectoral integration. So this situation will lead to a lot of impacts in the region, maladaptation, land degradation has been already mentioned this morning, and this is very crucial, very important in the region, but also the displacement and the migration in the region. So this solution, the climate adaptation and mitigation also are a global priority for the region, because this will reduce the vulnerability of the climate change. However, the adaptation and climate change require the integrated management of the resources. So the adaptation and mitigation could not work without the integrated management of the resources, but also not only the integrated management of the resources, but also the governance of the resources, the good governance of the resources. So how we can tackle this very important challenge? So this call supports the use of the Nexus as a tool. When I say as a tool in adaptation and mitigation strategies, to mainstream the Nexus WEFE solution into cross-sectoral policies, and also to assess the impact on the livelihood of the population in the Mediterranean. So the proposal should first start to study the impact of the climate change on the Nexus WEFE. When I say the impact, but here we are targeting the tipping points. This is very important, the tipping points in the region. Maybe some of you are said that what are the tipping points? You know that now the tipping points are possible at the current level of the warming, but also likely possible within the Paris Agreement, which is between the temperature between 1.5 and 2 degrees. So we ask you and to analyze these tipping points, and you know that beyond the tipping points, this will impact the climate change, and also the ecosystem will be touched. So you can use different climate models, and here I would like to highlight the inputs from the climate models. So you know that the greenhouse scenarios developed by the IPCC, for instance, the representative concentration pathway, also the socioeconomic pathway, so could be inputs to the climate model to assess the tipping points. So now, how we can, let's say, avoid the likelihood of these tipping points? To avoid these tipping points, we ask you to co-deploy WEFE nexus-based adaptation and mitigation. When we say co-deploy, it will be deployed with all the stakeholders. So solution including several changes in production and management practices. It could be technologies, agroecological practices, nature-based solution, but it should be applied at large scale, not at small scale. And for sure, you have to start, but what has been done before, you will not start from scratch because, as I said, it's an innovation accent. Then you have to study the impact of the Nexus WEFE solution. So the impact of the Nexus-based adaptation and mitigation solution on the resource efficiency, and to take a broad perspective on the impact on the overall environment and the social well-being. This is very, very important. Then the proposal also, we have to develop business models that target the Nexus-based adaptation and mitigation in order to facilitate the roll-up of the Nexus solution at a large scale. Finally, we ask you to integrate the Nexus WEFE solution into cross-sectoral policies. When I say cross-sectoral policies, they are the like the national adaptation plan, like the NDCs, like the farming policies. So we ask you to see how you can integrate this Nexus solution into cross-sectoral policies. And this, of course, will give feedback to policymakers to revise their sectoral policies. As I said, most of the Nexus policies and also the National Adaptation Plan are implemented to meet the sectoral goals. Here I would like to insist on some important points. First, the demo sites. I know that Fabrice has already mentioned it. Please consider the large-scale demonstration sites. You have a good budget, so avoid small scale, avoid small bit, and go to large-scale demonstration sites, preferably in Southern Mediterranean countries, because you know that the Southern Mediterranean countries are more vulnerable to the climate change and with low capacity. Also, we have to link with what has been funded so far. We have several Nexus projects, but also we have Nexus developed in farming and in water in order to develop the close partnership during the implementation of your project. Once again, I think I highlight also the stakeholders in engagement is very important for the project, but we have to encourage the participation, not only during the proposal, but also during the implementation of the Nexus solution on the ground. And the fourth important point is to link to the Nexus WEFE community of practice. We launched this call. Now the Nexus community of practice, they started some months ago. So we will ask you to have this collaboration with this Nexus community of practice. So what we expect from this call? So once again, the Nexus WEFE, so we'll facilitate the adaptation and mitigation solution. How this will happen? So it will reduce the trade-offs, it will maximize the synergies and improve the governance. So this will give insights to mainstream the Nexus WEFE solution into cross-sectoral policies, in particular the adaptation plan, the climate policies, but also to improve the economy efficiency here, to produce more with less and to improve the livelihood of the vulnerable population. Of course, we would like to have an impact on the three securities, the water, the energy, and food, and to improve the sustainable ecosystem services. At long term, we hope to contribute to the sustainable development goals through what I call the sustainable development, sustainable adaptation. Here, maybe when I say the sustainable adaptation, it's very, very close to the transformative adaptation, so it will contribute to the implementation of the sustainable development goals and also to the Paris Agreement. You have to, of course, follow your activities and to link your specific objective with some key performance indicators. Here just we propose some KPIs. You see the number of nexus-based adaptation and mitigation solutions, the number of engaged stakeholders and users, and the number of business models. These are some examples, but feel free to include other KPIs to follow your activity and to link your specific objectives to the KPIs. But also don't forget to have in mind your target for the key performance indicators. Of course, we ask you to link with the SDGs. It's very important to show how your project and your activity will contribute to the sustainable development goals. Here are just some showcases of the SDGs. For sure, we are water, energy, food, ecosystem. We have the water. 6, we have the food. 2, we have the energy. 7, consumption to production. 12. Since we have an adaptation, climate adaptation mitigation, we have the 13, the SDG 13, and also the 15 linked to the restoration and the sustainable use of the territorial and island freshwater ecosystem and their services. Here I highlight some targets, but feel free to use other maybe sustainable development goals, but also to link the SDGs to the targets. Also, I would like to ask you to synergize with the European policies, in particular the European Green Deal. And here I just mentioned some examples, in particular the European Climate Law, which you know that this European Climate Law stipulates for the zero emission by 2050. Also the European Adaptation Strategy, the Farm to Fork Strategy, but also to the Water Framework Directive and the Horizon Mission Adaptation to Climate Change. I will end up by this slide, the last slide for the Nexus Award, as I have mentioned it before, that we will award the excellent teams, not only research team, but also practitioners that have succeeded to implement socioeconomic solutions on the ground with the participation of the stakeholders, but also if they succeeded to have the solution have been adopted by the end users. Can be farmers, can be also policy makers, and any important stakeholder in the Mediterranean. The winner should also demonstrate the replicability and the upscaling of the Nexus solution in the ground. So by this, I thank you. I wish you good luck, and thank you so much. Now I move to the section 2. Back to you, Octavi. Yeah.
So, hello everyone. My name is Nur Eda Demir. I'm the project officer in charge of Section 2. So, I will present to you the call topics of Section 2. So, for Section 2, we have 3 topics under Section 2, the water management, farming systems, and agri-food value chain. I will start with the water management topic. For this year's call, the water management topic is new governance models to define best practices for sustainable water management and conflict mitigation. The deadline for this call is the 29th of March. We expect proposals to be more than 1.5 million. This does not mean that we exclude proposals that are less than this, but we think that to adequately address this challenge, we need proposals that are bigger than 1.5 million euros. The challenge, as we all know, climate change is exacerbating the already existing water stress situation in the Mediterranean countries, and we are continuously facing periods of droughts and flooding, and this in turn is very likely to cause food insecurity in the near future. And there are already some conflicts which exist between different users, such as the agriculture, industry, tourism, and households. And when there is no common agreement in place, these risks of conflicts can be even more pronounced. So this is why it's necessary to create new governance models based on data and to involve all relevant stakeholders at the local, national, and transboundary levels. Under this call, we expect proposals to contribute to water sustainability and security in the Mediterranean region. This can be done by bringing together stakeholders, administrations, non-state actors, the use of innovative technologies, including GIS and remote sensing, to optimize water use and avoid depletion, to create shared knowledgeable action, in order to change the dynamics of water demand and supply. We would also expect proposals to map the use of available water resources, to establish methodologies based on monitoring, modeling, and technical solutions in order to address the information gaps, to better plan response to climate-induced risks such as flooding, storms, and droughts, to optimize water storage and preserve groundwater and surface water in the context of a circular economy. Proposals could also examine governance solutions and analyze water tariff systems and the prices for the provision of water services. They can identify inefficiencies and the consequent impact on the environment and water security. They can propose alternative models and economic instruments while also taking into account affordability, cost recovery, and the willingness to pay. Proposals could also review the existing legal frameworks at all levels, transboundary, national, regional, or local, and propose measures to ensure that these agreements and frameworks guarantee fair and sustainable access to water resources while also preserving the resources. Proposals could propose to better balance conflicting interests and minimize opportunities for future conflicts, and in doing so, they should enhance all stakeholders' participation. The results from the projects funded under this call should apply to countries facing similar challenges, even if they do not share a common physical border. The identification and scaling up of good practices which already exist in the region is also very much encouraged. So we expect from proposals to mitigate and prevent the current and future water conflicts under climate change conditions, and this can be done through developing necessary governance solutions and the fair allocation of water resources. At the basin level, we expect the elaboration of participation and governance models resulting in improved coordination of water users and stakeholders. And at the transboundary water level, we expect the adoption of multilateral management agreements for strengthened cooperation among countries. We also expect an increased water security and strengthened protection of depleted water bodies and water-related ecosystems, stemming from adopting innovative technological solutions while also considering appropriate legal, economic, and governance instruments. As mentioned by all of my colleagues, we expect all proposals to indicate their key performance indicators. This is very important to do not miss this. Sometimes proposals don't include their KPIs, but this is very important. Here we have this is not an exhaustive list. Here we proposed maybe the number of newly developed water rights systems, which ensure the right allocation for water users. But this is not the only KPI that you can use. You can add any that you think are relevant. As also mentioned by all of my colleagues, we expect proposals to show us their links with the currently existing EU policies and missions. For this, you can use the European Green Deal, the Water Framework Directive, but surely there are many others. And also we expect the proposals to be clearly linked with relevant sustainable development goals. For the farming systems topic, this year we have a step toward carbon neutral farms, coupling renewable energy sources with circular farming systems. Again, the deadline is the 29th of March for all Section 2 calls. The 29th of March is the deadline. And as I mentioned before, we expect proposals to be upwards of 1.5 million euros in order to adequately address these challenges. The challenge in this call is non-sustainable agricultural practices in the Mediterranean result in an increase in water and inputs used for irrigation and fertilization, which in turn also increase the cost of production and reduce the income of small farmers, also increase greenhouse gas emissions and harm the adaptative capacity of the agroecosystems to face climate change impacts. In addition to water scarcity, prices of energy and nutrients have drastically increased due to some factors such as the COVID-19 pandemic and the Ukrainian war, and this has in turn led to an unbearable production cost for smallholders. So affordable and sustainable production consumption systems need to be developed to stabilize the farmers' profitability and to attract a new generation of young farmers. We expect proposals to develop an integrated farming system using renewable energy to decrease greenhouse gas emissions and maximize the use and reuse of wastes and inputs, for instance, reusing treated wastewater and sewage sludge. We are seeking innovative, actionable, and affordable systems in open fields or protected farming systems, such as greenhouses, aeroponic, hydroponic, aquaponic, and cascade systems, or any other systems that can minimize the use of external inputs while also optimizing the resource use. In open fields, proposed systems should be based on eco-friendly practices, which enhance an integrated utilization of farm waste or agri-food byproducts. Under greenhouse conditions, they should improve the passive accumulation of heat, and carbon dioxide enrichment should also be considered. Under closed soilless farming systems, hydroponics, aquaponics, and vertical farming can be used to help ensure sustainability. The novel agronomic developments should be also coupled with renewable energies, such as solar, geothermal, wind, and biomass, in order to ensure more carbon-neutral farming operations and to limit the impact of high energy prices on smallholders. ICT, IoT, nanotechnologies, and sensor devices should be used to estimate and also to follow up on the farm's energy consumption and CO2 emissions. Proposals should take care to demonstrate the socio-economic feasibility of the proposed measures, while also considering the complexity of the new integrated farming operations and the need for specific skills related to the possible simultaneous farming of diversified products. Proposals should involve a critical mass of stakeholders, from policymakers to public authorities, farmers, and other end users through the multi-actor approach. The Living Lab can also be used to co-develop and to test the proposed solutions. The engagement of policymakers in order to scale up, disseminate, and replicate the solutions at a larger scale and envisage incentives such as guarantees, concessional loans, subsidies, or any other type of financial instruments to facilitate the farmers' adoption. And capacity development activities should also be considered. The proposals should also consider a framework for awareness raising, which should be customized to the different actors involved. The expected impacts, the impacts that we expect from these proposals are to decrease the CO2 equivalent emissions by using alternative sources of local and renewable energy, to improve the overall efficient use of water, fertilizers, and nutrients in Mediterranean farming systems by adopting a circular bioeconomy approach, reduce the dependency on conventional energy suppliers, improve the overall land productivity by integrating different cropping systems, use local energy from renewable sources, and to reduce the impacts of climate change on Mediterranean farming systems. As we always keep mentioning, key performance indicators are very much important, so please do include them in your proposals. Here we have suggested a few, such as number of sustainable practices, number of business models, reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, but you are free to add more. Again, as we mentioned, it's very important for all proposals to have links with EU policies and missions and links with SDGs. For this call, we expect some links with European Green Deal, EU 2030 Energy Strategy, Circular Economy Action Plan, the methane strategy, but surely there are many more that you can also add. The last topic under the section 2 is the agri-food value chain topic. This year it's about assessing novel antimicrobial food packaging and coating materials to reduce food waste to improve safety in the Mediterranean food supply chain. Again, the deadline for this call is the 29th of March. And to adequately address the challenges, we expect more large-scope projects which are over 1.5 million euros. Globally, about 30% of food produced for human consumption is lost or it's wasted along the supply chains. And this issue is even more challenging in the Mediterranean area because there's already limited availability of land and water, and there's marginalization of rural areas. Also, inadequate facilities and poor maintenance of proper conditions result in food contamination and spoilage, and this also results in loss of nutrients. So packaging is essential to prevent food deterioration and preserve or prolong the food quality and shelf life. And because of environmental concerns and plastic pollution, biodegradable packaging materials are gaining even more importance. They can be sustainable, environmentally friendly, and cost-effective alternatives to conventional packaging materials. Food products naturally contain some microorganisms which adulterate the product depending on the preservation method. To minimize microbiological hazards of foodborne pathogens and to predict and enhance the shelf life of food products, new food packaging technologies are being developed by substituting chemical antimicrobial agents or synthetic antimicrobial agents with the microbiome-based atmosphere. So the main objective of this call is to foster the adoption of innovative biodegradable materials tailored to the Mediterranean food systems. Proposals should explore novel, cost-competitive, and versatile biodegradable food packaging and coating materials with adequate functionalities to control the packaging atmosphere and prevent food spoilage while also not causing any environmental damage. Proposals should demonstrate bioplastics or biocomposites for food packaging and determine their potential environmental impact and their economic feasibility when compared to the conventional products. Microbiome solutions can also be explored to attain a more predictable and sufficient shelf life, which substitute antimicrobial chemical agents. These innovative packaging materials should be tailored to the different traditional Mediterranean food categories and processing techniques such as raw cooking, fermentation, and dehydration. ICT solutions should also be considered in order to reduce waste, to improve the efficiency of the supply chain, by providing consumers and supply chain actors with relevant information on storage and transportation conditions. Proposals can also propose sound business models which benefit all actors along the value chains and which maximize gains from biomass valorization, which protect biodiversity and the environment, while also securing food systems and products. Proposals should establish local sustainability-oriented bio-based value chains and demonstrate that they can be replicated in the Mediterranean region with low bioeconomy activities. Proposals should consider the safety of consumers and validate the market acceptance of the proposed novel packaging materials. Applications should also follow the multi-actor approach and involve active engagement and communication from or with relevant stakeholders and users and the food systems such as producers, groceries, households, and chefs. From these proposals, we expect some impacts such as to introduce new environmentally friendly techniques to reduce food waste, to demonstrate the efficacy of bio-based materials for packaging to improve food safety and reduce food waste that meets market requirements, reduce the need for chemical treatments by using agricultural byproducts and control pathogenic bacteria while preserving food's nutrient properties. And we would also like these proposals to result in job creations with equal gender opportunities. As we always underline, key performance indicators are very important for your proposal. Here we have suggested a few, such as number of developed innovative bio-based materials from packaging to improve food safety and reduce food waste, which also meet market requirements, number of jobs, number of newly designed food products. But as we always mention, please feel free to add yours, to add many more. Again, the proposals should clearly indicate their links with EU policies and missions and their links with the Sustainable Development Goals. For this topic, the first ones that came to mind for us were the Farm to Fork Strategy, the Waste Framework Directive, the Circular Economy Action Plan, the EU Plastic Strategy. But as we always underline, there are many more, and please do not avoid indicating the clear links in your proposals. So this is it from my side. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. We'll be getting back in 5 minutes. Okay, welcome back. Thank you very much. This has been a short break, but we are lagging behind. I see that there are few attendants, but let's hope that they will join in a few minutes. This is our session 3, which is the information we provide for the proposal submission and evaluation call management rules and conditions. And there will be, as I said, 5 presentations. The first one will be given by Fabrice, and he will develop on submission and evaluation of proposals. So Fabrice, over to you.
Thank you very much. So yes, we are starting this third session that is a little bit more practical. It's not on the topic, it's more on how to apply, how to submit, and where to find the documents. So here we are starting with the presentation on the submission and evaluation of the proposal. So as it has been introduced this morning, I think the slide, yes. Okay. We have a slight change in the eligibility rule. We are requesting an additional entity from the south. So in reality, to make it simple, you should read the eligibility rule as follows. We ask you 3 countries minimum, so exactly as it was in the past, 1 from the north, as we said, an EU participating state of PRIMA, and 1 from a non-EU participating state of PRIMA, so 1 of the south. Minimum 3 countries. This has not changed. But what has changed is we ask 4 legal entities instead of 3. So, and these 4 legal entities, 2 need to be from a southern countries, so a non-EU PRIMA country. 1 should be an EU country, and the other 1 can be whatever you decide. So I put here just some example to show you what is an eligible consortium and what is not. If we take the first example, Malta, Greece, Morocco, Egypt. So here I have more than 3 countries. This is fine. I have 2 countries from EU and 2 from the south. So no problem in terms of countries. And I also have 4 legal entities, which 2 of them are from the south. 1 legal entity from Morocco and 1 legal entity from Egypt. So all in all, the requirements are okay and the consortium is eligible. Let's move to the second example. Here we have Malta, Greece, and Morocco in terms of countries. So this is eligible. You have the minimum 3 countries, 1 from the south, Morocco, 1 from the EU, Malta or Greece, whatever, and the third one is also here in this case a EU country. But if you look carefully, I put Morocco entity 1 and Morocco entity 2. So this is eligible because in total you have 4 partners, 1 from Malta, 1 from Greece, and 2 from Morocco. So this is okay for the requirement of 2 partners from the south. Even if they are from the same country, this is eligible. What is not eligible is, for example, the following example: Malta, Greece, France, and Morocco. I have 4 entities, I have more than 3 countries, but I need 2 partners from the south. And in this case, I only have 1. So this is not eligible. Last example, I have Malta and Morocco. So here I have a problem because I only have 2 countries, even if I have 4 partners in total. So just to make it clear, 3 countries, 1 from the north, 1 from the south, and 4 legal entities, at least 1 from the north and 2 from the south. This is just the novelty of this year. If not, the rest is staying, it's the same. Where to find all the information? We have received a lot of questions in the Q&A boxes. You can find all the information on our PRIMA website. There will be all the presentation that will be uploaded after the info day. You will also find the recording of the session, and you will find all the information about the topic, the guidelines, the templates, and the link to the submission. So everything is on the website. There is a partnering tool that is called How to Find Partners. So for the moment, we have received also some questions. We send this information, but as the annual work plan is not formally approved by the European Commission, we are just waiting the final approval to be allowed to put the topic of this year. So it's just a question of day, and this partnering tool will work and will allow you to find partners. There is also in our website another section to become an evaluator of PRIMA. So if you want to take part in an evaluation committee, you can register and submit your CV in our database. Just be aware that if you want to participate as evaluator, you cannot take part in any of the PRIMA proposal. Whatever the call, whatever the topic, the same year you cannot participate as evaluator and as participant. Call information, how to submit your proposal. There are two ways of doing it in our website. You have the submit your proposal in yellow at the top of the page. This is very an easy access and quick access. And if not, you can go also in the research and innovation part and submit your proposal. You will be directed to the same page and same information. Here, this is the information you will have access to. It's the description of the topic we have just presented. So each topic, you have a short description with the amount, the title, and the deadlines. If you click on more information, you will have access to the full description of the topic. Challenge, scope, expected impact, KPIs, etc. And at the bottom of this page, you will find also all the needed documents. So the annual work plan, the call text, the guidelines for applicants, and also the template. Don't forget that you have to use the template of PRIMA, the template that are on our website. It's for the first stage, it's a pre-proposal template, and it's available. There are two parts of this template, the part one, that is the administrative part, and the part two, that is your proposal itself. 1 month before the deadline to submit your proposal, so the 22nd of February for section 1 and the 28th of February for section 2, you will have access to the electronic submission system. So you will find a button on this page, a button submit, and when you click on this button submit, you will be redirected to the ANR submission system, submission platform. Here, if you already have an account, please use the same account. It's much more easy. And if not, you just have to enter your email address and you will receive a message confirming your subscription. Once you enter, you will see that on the platform there is not difficult information to fulfill. It's more about administrative data, so just a title, the abstract, etc., the name of your partners. This is the most important. But here what I want to highlight is that on our website you will find a document that is called Electronic Submission System Handbook. And this is what you are seeing at the moment on the screen. It's a screenshot of every stage you have to fulfill to submit your document. So I recommend you to have this document close to your computer when you will start your submission, and you will see it's very easy in reality. It takes time, but it's not difficult to fulfill this information. Oops. So yes, you will see the detail. Of course, what is very, very important, it's the partnership. So each time you have to add your partners. And when you add your partner, this partner will receive automatically a message, an email, informing him that he has been invited by the coordinator, because it's the role of the coordinator to create the proposal on the submission system. If you are looking for the document, so I just tell you that at the bottom of the page where you have the call text, you have all the documents available, but there is also a way to go that is in research and innovation. There is a section called reference document. And in this reference document, you have access to everything, the strategic agenda, the work plans, all the guidance needed for section 1, for section 2, and the template. So the template for the proposal, part 1 and part 2. This is a quick checklist to be sure that you have everything to submit your proposal. So the first thing, of course, is to have an eligible consortium. In section 1, almost all the entities are eligible: private sector, NGOs, university, research center, etc. In section 2, you have to be careful because each country has its own regulation. So it's important for you to check first what are the eligible entities according to the country where you are located. It's very important for section 2. And you have to fulfill all the admin data on the platform, as I just said. To submit the document, there are two parts. The part 1, administrative data, and the part 2, the technical annex. At stage 1, for the pre-proposal stage, we only request the global budget per partner. So each partner has to have his own budget, and we just request that. We don't request the detail of each category, for example, the personnel, the equipment, etc. No, it's just global. The full detailed budget will be requested at stage 2 if you are selected and invited to submit a full proposal. The content and structure of the pre-proposal, so the part 1 is only administrative part, but it's very important because if you do not submit this part, you will be considered not eligible. It's an eligibility criteria, so don't forget it. It's simple, the title of your proposal, the acronym, the list of participants, an abstract, the name or the title of the topic to which you are applying, and some question to be answered by the coordinator, such as if you have submitted your project before in an EU call, etc., etc. So, but this is very easy to do, but it's important to submit these documents. For the content of the proposal, so I will not spend long on that because my colleague Mohamed will present you in more detail what you have to do to fulfill this part. But just to let you know that the pre-proposal stage is only 10 pages maximum. If you have more than 10 pages, your proposal will be automatically rejected by the system. And in this pre-proposal, so you only have to address the point that you see on the screen. Excellence and impact, but impact just the first part, the 2.1, expected impact, and that's all. If you are invited to stage 2, you will have a full proposal to submit, so there are more sections like an emphasis on the impact. You have to develop more the part on impact, and also the implementation, details of the member of the consortium, etc. That was not in the first stage proposal. The evaluation process, how does it work? So you submit your proposal by the deadline, and then after the PRIMA Secretariat will do the admissibility check. So revise if you have the minimum countries, the minimum partners, if you have submitted the 2 documents, part 1 and part 2 of the proposal, and if it's okay, so this will be sent, your proposal will be sent to 3 independent experts. They don't know each other, they don't know who is evaluating what, it's totally blind. So your proposal is always evaluated by 3 independent experts. When these phases of individual evaluation end, we gather the people in a panel, so all together, and here they share, the experts share their evaluation on each project and discuss to obtain a ranking list, to obtain first a consensus on the score or the rank assigned to the project, and then a consensus to rank the proposal in a ranking list. Only the top ranked proposal are invited to the second stage proposal, so to submit a full proposal. And then we repeat exactly the same process. You send your full proposal, it is again evaluated by 3 independent experts, and we repeat that. And then we obtain a ranking list, and of course only the top ranked projects are going to be funded. It works exactly in the same way for section 1 and section 2. In section 2 there is only one additional step, if I can say, it's the eligibility criteria. It's very important because section 2 is funded directly by the participating states. So each researcher, each beneficiary will have a contract with his own funding agency, his national funding agency. So in this case, you have to be sure to respect the regulation of the national funding agency. And this is the additional step in section 2, that the funding agency are checking if the partners are eligible and are fulfilling the rules, the national rules. The criteria used in the evaluation are the H2020 criteria. So for stage 1, we only consider excellence and impact. Each of these items are scored out of 5 points. 5 is the maximum, but there is a threshold. A threshold for stage 1, it means that you need at least to have 4 out of 5 in excellence and 4 out of 5 in impact to be allowed to pass to stage 2, so to submit a full proposal. If you are invited to submit this full proposal, so you have seen that the template is more complete, there are more information, and there is also an additional evaluation criteria, that is the quality and efficiency of the implementation. And it's scored out of 5 points also. For innovation action, it's important to highlight that the impact criteria has a weight of 1.5. So do not neglect this point because it has a multiplicating factor by 1.5. So very important to take in consideration. For the step 2, there is also a threshold, a minimum threshold to be allowed to receive funding. It's to have 3 points for each criteria. So 3 out of 5 in excellence, 3 out of 5 in impact, 3 out of 5 in the quality and efficiency of the implementation, but in total you need 10 out of 15. So there is one of these criteria you need to have maybe 4 points or 3.5, whatever, but the total score need to be at least 10 out of 15 to be allowed to receive a funding. Here, this is the evaluation criteria. For sure, I will not read this now. You can find it in the guidelines for applicant. It's also published in the annual work plan or the preliminary version. You already have access. So these are the classical H2020 criteria. Recommendation, so just don't wait the last minute. As I said, it's a simple process, but it takes time because you need, for example, in the platform to have all the emails of the people you want to include in your consortium. You need to know their institution, etc. So it's not a big job, but it takes time. You have to be patient and take your time. So don't wait the last minute. Be sure to submit part 1. Each year we insist, but each year we have consortia that are not submitting this part. So again, please check that you have all the requested documents. And for section 2, before applying, check your eligibility with your national contact point, because if not, sometimes you are just losing your time if you are not eligible, and this is a pity for everyone. So that's all from my side. I thank you very much and wish you the best for the submission of your project.
Thank you very much, Fabrice. Let's go very quickly to the next one, which is how to write a competitive PRIMA proposal. Mohamed.
Okay, thank you so much, Octavi. Okay. So now we will go to some tips and tricks and some guidelines on how to draft a competitive and a good quality proposal to apply to PRIMA. As you may know that PRIMA is a high competition program, so that's why you have to consider all aspects to submit a strong and robust application. If we can hide the ribbon on the top, it would be great. Okay, as my colleague already Fabrice mentioned that in the PRIMA for section 1 and section 2, which is identical here, that it is a 2-stage submission. So in the first stage, you need to submit the pre-proposal, which is 2 parts. Part 1, which is the admin online form that you need to fill directly on the ENR submission system, as well as the document. You can go to the ENR and to download, or to the PRIMA website, sorry, and to download the template, fill it, and then as a PDF, and you upload it back to the system. For the part B, or the scientific content of your proposal, you can go as well to the PRIMA website, download the pre-proposal Word document, fill it, and then upload it as a PDF to the system. We do the admin check and technical evaluation with the help of the 3 independent assessors per project. And then those being shortlisted will be invited to the second stage to submit the full application. Again, for the full application, you will have part 1, or the admin information. You have the online fields on the ENR submission system to fill. You have again the part 1 document or the template to be downloaded from the PRIMA website, uploaded it as a PDF to the system. You have the part 2, which is the full application. Download the template from the PRIMA, fill it with your consortium members, and then upload it as a PDF. And the new part in the stage 2 will be the budget sheet, which is an Excel sheet that you can download the template for section 1 or for section 2. You fill it and then uploaded it as Excel file. This is one of the common questions that we used to receive, that where should I upload the Excel sheet or the budget. In the first stage, you needed to submit this detailed distribution of the grants and the budget among all partners, but just the global figures per partner and for your project on the part one, the online form. But on the second stage, if you will be invited to submit the full application, you will be asked to submit and to upload this Excel sheet. For the time's sake, we will just focus on this part 2, the pre-proposal. And as my colleague already mentioned that in the first stage for the RIA or EA action for section 1 or for section 2, it is exactly the same. You have the excellence and you have the impact. Under the excellence, you have 4 points: objectives, relation to the goal and to the topic, the concept and the applied methodology, and the ambition. In the impact point, you have only 1 point to address in the first stage. Please remember and respect that in the pre-proposal, in the first stage, as we are saying that until the deadline in September, in March this year, it is only 10 pages. If you have tried to go to the submission system and upload more than 10 pages, the system will automatically alert you that it is not accepted because you exceed the page limit. Being accepted and invited to the second stage, you will have additional points to address in addition to the first 2 points, which is the excellence and the impact as well. So for now, we will just focus on the points of the first stage. We used to deliver this training over 2 full days, so we tried to compress it in only 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So for the main section or the part 2, the technical document, as I said, you have 2 points to address with equal maximum score, which is out of 5 for each point. Even as already my colleague Fabrice mentioned that for the EA actions, impact has a higher weight, which is 1.5. So let's go for each one of these points and give you some guidelines or tips and tricks how to start drafting your proposal. So let's start with the first section or the first part of your proposal, which is the excellence. In the excellence, the first point, which is the objectives of your project, your proposal, the overall and the specific objectives. You might be familiar with this term, the SMART objectives. It has to be specific to your project and to the topic that you are submitting for. It has to be measurable, something that you can quantify, achievable, realistic, and timing. You can use, for instance, bullet points and some abbreviations such as SO1 and SO2 to refer to specific objective 1 and specific objective 2. So throughout your document, you needn't to mention everywhere this specific objective, but just between two brackets, for instance, the abbreviation SO1, and then the assessor will check, okay, SO1 you are meaning or you are referring to a specific objective. You need to be precise and specific because remember that in the first stage, it's only 10 pages. So you need to avoid too ambitious goals and overestimation and a long description about your background. You need to read and reflect carefully the context. And this is something very important that we keep highlighting and advising to the applicants, because sometimes you can submit a very interesting proposal with a strong consortium, but it might not be perfectly fit to the scope of this year. So it's important to read carefully and to analyze with your research team members, with your partners, the context. Avoid the too long narrative description, as I said, because in the first stage, you have some limitation in the pages. It's only 10 pages. Define the sites and why you selected those sites, the geographical coverage, and the engage the stakeholders, the target groups, and the main outputs of your deliverables. For instance, if in your project you will have, let's say, 50 deliverables, you needed at this stage to list down all these 50 deliverables, but just mention the key one, like 2 or 3 large demo sites, 1 regional platform, and so on. The second point under the actions, which is the relation to the goal and the topic that you are going to apply for. Again, reflect from what has been already mentioned this morning and what is written inside the call text. But this is not only enough just to check the call text, because you need, as we keep highlighting during our first session presentations, that align your project with the PRIMA Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda to the call text, that if you are applying for the nexus or for the farming, to the topic and to the EU relevant policies and strategies, as we stated that the EU Mission Soil or the EU Biodiversity Strategy, the Horizon Europe, and all these aspects. You can use, for instance, a tabular form to match between what is written inside the topic or the three and your response to these points. Relevance as well to the particular demand in the MENA countries, like in the agri-food, we highlighted the problem of the food insecurity in the region and disturbance in the supply chain, for instance. So you can, or you need to reflect and link your project and its outputs to the ultimate impact or the goal that you want to achieve. So this highlights the importance to synergize between your project and other initiatives and to build on the previous actions or projects. Here we just give you some example at the level of PRIMA, at the level of the EU, and as well as at the global level. The third point, which is, let's say, the scientific description of your project and the ideas, which is the concept of your project and the applied methodology that you will apply, that you will implement. So it has 2 points or 2 sections. The first point, which is the concept, it contains the main ideas and the models and explain the overall concept underpinning your project. Identify the interdisciplinary among the stakeholders, and here in bold or in capital, the partners' knowledge, because it is important that you are not just inviting some partners because you used to work with them, but you involve the partners or the organizations who are directly related to the implementation of the project, and they have a very clear role and knowledge to be invested inside the project. Include measures for the public and societal engagement, positioning your project, let's say from idea to application or from lab to market. And here with a different color, because this is very important, and this is what we learn, differentiate between good proposal and excellent proposal, is to mention and to refer to the initial technology readiness level of your project, if you are going to use, for instance, several technologies, and the final TRL that you are aiming to reach at the end of your project. This is very important. Describe as well any synergy and the complementarity between your project and any other national and international research and innovation activities, especially those implemented for sure in the region or in the countries of your application. The second part under the point 1.3, which is the applied methodology. Describe briefly how you will shift or move from the objectives to the final results. Very briefly, because again, we learned over the years that some of the applicants used to invest a lot of time and effort and pages for this part. Please remember, it is the first stage, 10 pages only, so you need to use it very wisely. So you just need to present the overall methodology or the applied approach without so much details about the minor tasks or small tasks and activities. Present the state of the art of the applied technology and its rationale, why you selected those approaches or technologies to be implemented. Present the logic behind the interdependency between the work package structure, briefly but not in detail. And not to forget, please, the gender dimension. And here, when we talk about gender dimension and the gender equality, we are not just talking about at the level of your consortium, like the work package leaders, the research team, but also very important, the engagement of the stakeholders and the civil society. The last point under the excellence, which is 1.4, about the ambition, how your project will go beyond the state of the art. And this part, you will describe the novelty of your project and its added value. What is the innovation potential of your project and why you select this technology and what would be the added value of this technology against the other available alternatives on the market. Like for instance, it will decrease the cost, increase the productivity, improve the efficiency, decrease, for instance, the energy consumption, and so on. And you need as well to describe in brief the nature and the size of the tackled market. The second section, or the second main part in the pre-proposal stage, which is the impact. There is only a single point under this, which is 2.1, the expected impact as mentioned in the work program. It has to be clear and very specific to your project and to the objectives. So for instance, if I'm proposing something under the excellence, it has to be mirrored as well on the impact in this part. Used quantified KPIs. So for instance, again, this is one of the criteria that differentiate between good and excellent proposal. Sometimes I say that, okay, we will have demo sites. No, you have to be very specific on this. Like we will have 2 or 3 demo sites, 1 platform, 10 workshops, and so on, and specify as well the targets and the values and the means of verifications or how you will measure or prove this. Classify this impact to social impact, economic, environmental, political, or it's a technological advancement. Define the target groups and the final beneficiaries like small farmers, organic food producers, for instance, or retailers, geographical coverage, and very important, how you are going to approach them and engage them actively to the proposal and to the project if it's being accepted and funded. Describe how your project will contribute to each of the expected impact as mentioned in the PRIMA annual work program, and this again highlight the importance to read carefully the PRIMA call text, and in the section of the impact we have already listed down in a bullet formats the main expected impacts of our project. Don't forget for sure the cross-cutting areas such as ICT revolution, digitalization, and the gender dimension. Again, as we keep highlighting, refer to the PRIMA SRIA and to the other EU instruments and strategies. The next slides are not part, here you can see this disclaimer that this is just for demonstration purpose. It is not part of the official template. You can use it or invent any other useful tables or tools or diagrams that can summarize to the assessor your idea. So for instance, you can have this table format just for the relevant relation or the relevance between what is written in the PRIMA call text or SRIA or the topic scope and your project. For instance, the initial technology TRL and the final TRL. You can list down, for instance, the target groups or the final beneficiaries, their demands or challenges, and how your product will respond to their demands. Communication very briefly about and with KPIs, with quantified parameters, please, and the target audience. Last but not least, the list of work packages. Again, this is very important. For instance, if you are talking about just 10 pages, to have, for instance, this tabular format, just to summarize the main work packages, the start and end date, the responsible partner, and the main deliverables related to each work package. You can add, if you want, for instance, the subtasks under each work package, so it is up to you. This is as well some useful diagrams that you can use or invent your own. It is up to you. You can use, for instance, theory of change to show the relation between the assumptions, the activities, the objectives, and the outcomes, and the ultimate impact of your project. You can use impact pathways, showing how you will move from the inputs or the objective to the final results of your project. You can use a Gantt chart to summarize and to show the timeline and the interdependency between the work packages. PERT diagram as well to show and to summarize the relation between the work packages and the hierarchy, and maybe business model canvas or any other templates. Again, to highlight, this is just for demonstration purpose. It is not part of the PRIMA official template. So generally remark at this pre-proposal stage or the first stage, it is 2 sections, as we mentioned. It is the excellence and the impact, with equal scoring out of 5 for each one of them. So you have to pay equal attention to both of them. Here we are not talking about it has, let's say, to be 5 pages for the excellence and 5 pages for the impact. No, it is first up to you to decide the page, how you will design your proposal. But what we learned from over the years that sometimes it is, let's say, 8-2 or 7-3. It is up to you, because you need to consider as well that under the first part or the excellence, you have 4 points to address, but under the impact, it is only a single point. So it has to be up to you and with your consortium as well, for sure, to decide how you design this. But we used to see that sometimes very good and excellent proposal, they devoted a lot of time and effort and pages for the excellence, and let's say half a page for the impact. So maybe, okay, you will score 5 out of 5 for the excellence, but you will score maybe a little bit less for the impact. So this is very, very important to be considered. It's only 10 pages, so please use it precisely and wisely. Don't waste space for the implementation and details, because as we said that if you're being invited to the second stage, you will have section 3, which is the quality of the implementation. So where you can detail the activities and the sub-activities of your project. Quantify, because sometimes we see that we will do this and that without indicating the numbers or the quantity that you are going to end with, as I mentioned before. You can use tables, diagrams, figures, but not extensively to summarize to the assessors your idea. Present briefly at this stage the dissemination and communication and the exploitation plan. Show the interdisciplinary between the partners, as we keep saying that the multi-actor approach, partners from the scientific background, from academia, from the private sector, from the civil society, from foundations, and so on. Show the novelty, and this novelty is not just on the technology that you will invent, but also can be as well on the methodology that you are going to approach in the presentation of your ideas on the document and in the process for sure. Networking and synergize, and this is the point all other officers we highlighted in the morning sessions, that you need to link your project with other previously funded projects or implemented initiatives, national or regional regulations, and so on. For the excellence part, some, let's say, advices fit with the scope as mentioned already in the PRIMA program and the context, as well as the SRIA, EU instruments. Show the importance and the relevance between your project and its objective and what is written inside the PRIMA context. The soundness of the concept of your projects has to be credible, and credible approach and methodology applied. What will be the state of the art and the demonstrate the innovation potential of your idea, and show again the interdisciplinary approach that you are going to apply and how you will engage the stakeholders and the partners in your consortium. For the impact part, present very clearly the outputs of your project, and you have to mirror what is already mentioned inside the annual work program. Mention as well the impact, not just those mentioned inside the cold text of PRIMA, but also you can add your additional impact, your additional KPIs as well. And not to forget, please, to present the exploit, how you will exploit and disseminate the project result and communicate this result. This is very important, and some very good proposal last year's, they are good in several things, but maybe they forgot how you will disseminate or communicate or exploit the results of your project. General advice, keep the title or the acronym simple and catchy. Avoid too general background. Be concise in the first stage. Prepare your own checklist. Read the guideline, please, carefully, and the cold text. Provide all needed information on the on the electronic submission system as well as on the documents. Please check the website regularly, because sometimes maybe there will be like some updates or some modification, just in case of we will have maybe deadline extension. And in the upcoming weeks, we will organize as well national PRIMA Info Days, and we will keep updating PRIMA social media channels and the PRIMA websites with all these timing and the schedule. Last couple of slides about the technical advices, or let's say the takeaways. Make sure that you engage actively the external stakeholders and the end users and how you will communicate with them. The relevance between your project and the SRIA, the PRIMA Strategic Research Innovation Agenda, with the goal of this year, 2023, with the PRIMA topic, that's agri-food or nexus or water, and with the EU regulations. Justify the applied technology, the sites of the selection, the locations, the partner. Check the numbering and the consistency throughout the document, like the partner orders, the deliverables, work packages, and tasks. Invent your own tools and diagrams. Measurable KPIs, quantify the activities, deliverables, and outputs. Polish and make your proposal more appealed before the submission. For sure, we are not expecting too colorful, but also not so black and white. And as already my colleague mentioned, that to contact your national contact point for any assistance, especially if you are going to submit it for Section 2. Thank you so much for your time and wish you all the best and good luck with your application. Thank you. Back to you, Octavi.
Thank you very much, Mohamed. The Slido identified as a big challenge finding partners and for building the consortia. So Ali will address this issue right now. Please, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before starting, let me just come back to the presentation of Mohamed, which is, I think, very good, and he already gave very important tips and tricks to write a successful proposal. Yes, a well-written proposal is a very important step to maximize your chance, but also you need to construct and build a good consortium. So a well-written proposal and a good consortium hand in hand will maximize your chance to have a proposal funded. Just we will wait the presentation. Yes, so in this presentation, and I will be very brief because we are run out of time, I will start by the characteristics of a winning consortium. Then I will move to share with you some insights regarding the tips and tricks when you compose your consortium, the different steps and the partnering tool, and I have seen several questions regarding the partner tool in the chat. So what are the main characteristics of a winning consortium? So here I summarized in 5 important characteristics. The first is the complementarity. So the consortium, all the members should be complementary to each other. So this is very important to avoid the redundancy between the roles of the partners. Also, you should have a leader. You should have a leader who will communicate very well and who will maybe share all this information with the consortium member, and also to take decision when it is necessary. Then the balance. The balance, it's not only on the geographic balance between the south and the northern Mediterranean, but also have to think about the balance between profit and non-profit partners. All the members should also share a vision and agree on the objective, on the overall goal of the projects. And the trust, I think this is very important. Also, the members should have a high level of trust among the members. I think this is very important to foster a positive and productive working groups. These are the main important characteristics of a winning consortium. Now, what are the different tips that I would like to share with you, and very important to take into consideration once you start constructing your consortium. So first, you have to move from the topic description to identify the functions and the partner. I think this is very useful for you, because starting from the topic description, then you can planify the different functions that you need, and with this will help you to identify the good and the corresponding partner to the functions. That we call it the functional planning. Second important tips, and that's what we call it, don't bring your friend, because maybe you will have the redundancy, as we already mentioned it in the last slide, and you will have discrepancy between the list of consortium partner and the project needs. The third one, you can build and you can use your previous collaboration or ongoing collaboration. It's very important that can you use it to showcase the strength of the consortium, but also we have to branch out new partners. The last but not least, this is also the, you have to think about the exploitation of the innovation solutions. So the presence of completeness of a team that will be responsible for the innovation and for the exploitation of the results will give you very important scores during the notification, and also this is the exploitation of innovation not only during the project but also after the end of the project. So what are the main steps to construct your consortium? Here I summarize in 3 main steps. First, you have to start with a core consortium. When I said core consortium, you have to bring on board 3, 4, what we call in general, the key opinion leader. So these are the most important members that will give you a lot of insights to the project. So you will, the key opinion leaders will save your life because you will not lead 15 or 20 partners. Second, you have to develop your innovative idea. So with the core consortium, together, you can draft the scope, the objectives, and the rough outline of the project. So you cannot draft a proposal, and you cannot start to draft the concept not with 15 or 20 partners. And the third, once you draft the rough outline of the project, then you can bring the rest of the partner. So you have to start by using your network, the network of the core consortium, but also you have also the partnering tool. I think several partnering tools are available, and this will also bring very good partners. Of course, I will start by our partnering tool, PRIMA Partnering Tool, which is available in our website. So in this partnering tool, we received some questions in the chat. So the partnering tool will be available soon. So you can post your partnership request. So, but please here you have to put your competence, what's your role in the partnering in this, when you post your partnership request, because this will attract other partner. But also you can use the search engine to view the requested posted by other partners. Another important tool is the funder and tender portal. This is a free platform, and this tool contains what has been funded so far, so you can filter by the keywords, by organization type, and also by country. And here you can find the successful consortium. So this is very important for you if you would like to have a partner. In Cordis, you will have more information. It's a European Commission primary source of the results. So you will have more information regarding different funded projects by H2020, Horizon Europe. You can have the project fact sheets. You can have also different deliverables, the project summary, and also you can also have access to the publications. ERA-Learn is another also important tool. It's a European Union funded project that provides varieties of tools and services. But one of the services offered by the ERA-Learn is the partnering tool, is the ERA-Learn partnering tool, which is designed to help research to find potential partners. So here, please check if you are eligible or not, because it's a European project. Maybe it depends where you are to have access. So first you have to register, and this tool is available and free to use. So you can create your profile, and you can use the potential partner and send and receive partnering requests. The last but not least, but these are the main important tools, is the Enterprise Europe network. It's basically European Commission funded network, which operates in more than 60 participating states. So this network has an excellent partnering tool called EE and Partnering, which is designed to help all the legal entity, SMEs, research organization, higher education, to find the potential partner. So it is available. You have to register first, and it provides you a database of many partners. It could be SMEs, private sector, Chamber of Commerce. So it's a very important tool, in particular if you are looking for private entity, SMEs in particular. Of course, if it is not possible to find your potential partner using all this partnering tool, you can contact the NCPs. Here in our website, you have all the NCPs of PRIMA, so you can contact them in case you need a specific role or a specific partner in your consortium. But also we have your national contact points for Horizon Europe in your country that will also help you to find your partner. So to wrap up, I think a written proposal, a well-written proposal is an important step, but also you need to have a good consortium. So a good consortium and a well-written proposal, hand in hand, will maximize your chance to have a project accepted. With this, I will wish you all the best, and thank you for listening. Back to you, Octavi.
For this presentation. And now let's go to Pau, who will present how to prepare budgets for PRIMA proposals. As I said, Pau, he is a financial manager of PRIMA. Pau, over to you.
Good afternoon to you all. I hope you have enough energy to listen to the last two presentations of our InfoDate meeting. Please. Okay, so my presentation will go through, first of all, a budget overview, and which are the key points that you should consider when you will prepare the budget. And then, as we are running out of time, I will go rapidly to which are the eligible, ineligible costs when you prepare the submission. Also, the concept of third party, which normally we realize that there are many doubts on it. And finally, how would be the report and the payments on the PRIMA if you are selected for funding. Okay, so as it has been asked on the Q&A section, PRIMA calls follows H2020 rules, okay? Although we launched the call in 2023, we are stick on the H2020 framework program. This is important. Please be aware that you should follow what is stated in the previous framework program. Also, when you prepare the consortium, you should check the status of the entity, meaning that the profit and non-profit on the innovation action have a different reimbursement rate. So please check which is the status, because sometimes we realize that there are some errors on it. So please check with the person who will you contact if this organization is a profit or non-profit. Also, if you have some doubts regarding the eligibility and the specific criteria for each category of cost, you have the model grant agreement, which is available on our website, and also the annotated model grant agreement, which is a wider document where there is very detailed all the articles in several examples. So we kindly recommend you to go through in case you have doubts. Finally, as it has been explained, in the stage 1, you only have to provide the general budget per partner and in the submission. And in the stage 2, you have to prepare the detail per category. But please be aware that we don't allow changes on the budget between stage 1 and stage 2. So we kindly recommend to prepare very well the budget already in the first stage, in order not to face a problem if you are selected in the stage 2. As a general overview of the budget, it would be like this. Fabrice already showed it on one slide. And if you are familiar with EC grants, normally it is split in different cost categories. The first one is the direct personal cost. The second one is direct cost of subcontracting. The third one, direct cost of financial support, which is not very usual in PRIMA calls. The fourth one, other direct cost. And finally, the indirect cost, which is a flat rate, which I will explain it later. Then you reach the total cost, and you apply the reimbursement rate to have the maximum PRIMA grant amount per partner. Okay, here again, remember the rule of the profit entities, which can only claim 70%. And also, if you have a linked third party, you should also include in the budget, just below the main partner, okay? So this is very important in order that the submission is well done and the budget would be good for us. So, once we have seen the overview of the budget, I will not explain in detail all the eligibility costs, which is the main characteristic for each one, but I think I will underline which is the most important. As you know, there are three types of cost what you can use: the actual cost, the unit cost, and the flat rate. The actual costs are the most common, and the general characteristics that they should be according to the Annex 1, which is the part 2 of the document, the full proposal. Also, they have to fulfill the national law. This is very important. Please, you should stick with the national law and also the regulations that applies in your organization, okay? Sometimes we see that you have doubts if this is eligible or not. Please be in mind that you cannot change your internal rules due to the PRIMA action. You should stick on the rules already applied in your organizations, okay? The second category is the unit cost. You can also use it in personal cost or in other direct cost, and it's just a certain amount and multiplied by the amount of what you will justify. And the third category is the flat rate that we use is in the indirect cost, which is at 25% of the total eligible direct cost. As I have explained on the budget, there are several categories of cost, and now I will go a little bit deep on each one, okay? Here, the main difference between direct and indirect is the link between the action, okay? So, and also we have seen some errors when you report the cost. So the indirect cost, an example, should be the cost of the light of your organization. You cannot link specifically how much you have spent on light for the action. So this is an example of indirect cost, whereas a direct cost, it's a person who works directly in the action. It's easy to identify how many hours he has devoted on the action. Important, what I am explaining since the beginning, it's for Section 1 rules. In Section 2 projects, it also applies the national rules of every single funding agency, okay? So as PRIMA, we are funding both sections, but we will focus on Section 1 rules. Personal cost. So far, this is the most important category in PRIMA calls. On average, it's around 60% of the budget. And normally, all the beneficiaries have person hired by an employment contract. Okay, so here you have to check that the person who will work has a regular employment contract valid, and it's under the national law, and it's everything is fine. But also there are some other cases that you can use as natural person or employees for a third party seconded to the beneficiary. Okay. How to calculate the person month and the hours devoted? It's an easy formula. You have to foresee how many hours this person will work and multiply it by the hourly rate, okay? Plus an additional remuneration that applies to non-profit legal, if need be. The hourly rate, it's a simple division, whereas personal cost divided by productive hours. What does the personal cost include? The gross salary, the social security contributions, and other taxes that arise from the national law, okay? Please, this also we have seen errors. Include all the personal costs. It's not only the salary, it's the salary plus the social security plus taxes. Otherwise, the cost per person month will not be well calculated. Whereas we go to the productive hours, you have three methodologies to use. We kindly recommend to use the first one because it's easy and is the most standard, where you can use 1,720 hours, which is the normal hours that a person can work among 1 year. You can report either in actual cost or unit cost. The most general case is actual cost, but also unit cost, it's allowed, especially if there are some SME owners who works on the actions without a salary, that they are mandatory use unit cost, okay? You can check the rules also in the model grant agreement. When you calculate the hourly rate, take in consideration that you have used the full financial year once it closes. Okay, so if you don't have the year close, you cannot use the hour of that year. Okay, following this example, when you will report the hours of 2021, as there is only until 31 of March, you have to use the hourly rate of 2020. Okay. Errors to be avoided. The wrong calculation on the cost of person month. Sometimes we realize that the cost per person month is not well calculated, considering that it's over the standard cost of life of this country or much lower. So please be aware that this cost per person month is double checked with every single organization. Also, when you report the timesheets, but I will not go at this stage. What I have already mentioned, not considering all the personal costs. Sometimes they realize the social security was not considered, so please, again, calculate it well. Also, how you use the hourly rate, this is also a common error. And very important, the exchange rate. Here, there are all the southern countries which are not have the euro as a currency, so they must use the national currency. But PRIMA needs to report in euro, so the exchange rate has to be very well calculated. Okay, there are two ways of calculating, depending if you have the daily exchange rate or the monthly. And it's also, again, very well explained on the annotated model grant agreement. The second category is subcontracting. Subcontracting, you can subcontract part of the work. It could be done, but has to not be a main task of the call of the topic. Okay, so it should be a small part of the budget. They should be declared mandatory in actual cost, and they should be included in the Annex 1, which is the description of the action, the 50-page document. Okay. The other direct costs, which is also very important, they are basically the travel costs, the equipment cost, and other goods and services. For the travel costs, here, please, we have seen in all the calls that in most of the cases you overestimate the travel cost. Also, there has been the pandemic, but normally and now more and more the meetings are doing in remote. So in order to allocate the current and the good amount, please be in mind which will be your travel cost during the 3-4 years, okay? Because sometimes and many times we see that there are costs that are not used under this category. Here you have to fulfill your national and your internal policy, okay? And it's important that this policy is very well explained how you justify this travel cost in order not to have the ineligible cost. Equipment, it's also a common error. Remember that if it's equipment that lasts more years than the action, you have to use the depreciation rule, which is here you can see that you have to use annual depreciation, multiply per the use of the action of this asset, and also for the days that you use this asset. And goods and services are also allowed, and you can use them in your budgets. The fourth category of eligible cost is the indirect cost, and I have explained it's a flat rate of 25%. This is very easy. It simplifies how to calculate them, and there is no need to justify them in the midterm or the final report. Okay, so it's a flat rate that it's on behalf of each partner. From this indirect cost, you have to exclude the cost of subcontracting. Okay, so following this example, which a partner declares 100,000 of personal cost, 20,000 of subcontracting, and 10,000 of other direct costs, the total eligible direct cost is 130,000, whereas the eligible indirect cost, it's only the 27,500, because it's a 25% of the personal cost and the other direct cost. Here, obviously, during the 3-4 years of the actions, there will be some changes that from the initial proposal. Okay, The model grant agreement already foresees that there can be some changes and some budget categories among partners or among certain categories at the same level of the partner. Here we will explain if you are selected how to proceed, but don't worry, because the budget that you submit on the second stage can be changed during the action if it's not very significant, I must say. The third part of the presentation is the ineligible cost. It's on the other side, so are all the costs that don't comply with the previous condition, and the most common are the currency exchange losses. Unfortunately, they are not eligible. So remember that the coordinator will receive the pre-financing, and then he will distribute, or she, to the rest of the partners in euros. So the currency exchange losses or gain losses that may occur during the actions are not eligible. Also, if your organization deducts the VAT, you cannot get benefit of it, so don't declare it as eligible, or if you have a reckless expenditure. And as a general rule, all the costs incurred before and after the end of the action are not eligible. Okay, there are some exceptions, but as a general rule, and this is important. Also, the question of third parties. Okay, so there could be sort of third parties that can carry out part of the work of the action, but they don't sign the agreement, the grant agreement. Okay, so there are two types of third parties, and I think it's much easier to see it on this scheme. If they carry out part of the work, they could be subcontractors or linked third parties, and they are under the Article 13 and 14, respectively. And if they only provide resources, they are contracts or use of in-kind contribution. It's Article 10 and 11 and 12. This is very important, that if they work on the action or not. This is the main difference between the two different groups, okay? And finally, how PRIMA will pay and will request the report. Normally the GA will be after 3-4 months of if you are selected, so meaning that the first quarter of 24 we will start the actions of 23. And PRIMA, once it's signed and we receive all the accession forms, we pay the 60% of the pre-financing payment. Once we reach the midterm, which is at the middle of the action, we assess all the financial report, the technical report, and if everything is fine, we can pay up to a 30% additional payment. And at the end of the action, again, you have to report the technical, the financial, and if you reach the maximum grant amount, PRIMA will pay you the 10% which is missing. So these are all our recommendations. So we encourage you to keep calm, follow the rules, and thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, you can ask at the end of this session.
Thank you very much, Pau. Since we are lagging behind, just without more preambles, I'll give the floor to Julià, who will present the legal issues, mainly of the proposals. So, Julià, over to you.
Thank you, Octavi. Good afternoon to you all. Thank you for following us. Thank you for attending this Info Day 23. I'm Julià, PRIMA Legal Officer, and I will close this Info Day talking about our calls from a legal perspective, and essentially I will summarize which legal relation will exist between you and PRIMA in case your project, your proposal succeeds and is finally selected and funded under our call 23. Well, I'm aware that we gave you a lot of information during the morning. It has been an intense session. In fact, all PRIMA Info Days are quite intense, so I will be brief. I will not definitely do a deep analysis on the grant agreement on our GA. I will only give you the legal information that you need to know now in your current stage as a potential partners of the PRIMA call 23. Therefore, I will only explain the main structure of our GA and the procedure that we will follow to sign this contract in case your project is granted. If we can please display the presentation, everything that I will explain to you will sound familiar for those who have participated before in the H2020 program or even in the previous framework programs or directly to the Horizon Europe. The legal regulation of the grant contract is similar in all EU research framework programs. And before starting to display the presentation, allow me to do one additional clarification. My presentation is directly related to section 1, as it has been explained, and I would like to remind to you, especially for newcomers, that our calls are launched throughout 2 sections. In section 1, PRIMA will sign the GAs, the grant contracts with you, and we will fund you directly. In section 2, you will sign in case your project succeeds, you will sign the contracts with your own funding agencies, with your national funding agencies, and they will fund you. In any case, the fundamentals of the legal regulation of our call are common for both section 1 and section 2, so the presentation will be useful regardless to what section you will apply. And obviously, no need to mention it, both sections 1 and 2 are in the same level of importance and relevance in our program. So, first of all, the GA, the grant agreement, is the contract that will be signed between you as a coordinator or partner of a consortium with a granted project in the PRIMA Call 23, and us, or with your national funding agencies in section 2. Also, the GA is the legal instrument that will allow PRIMA to ensure that your project is performed as it has been agreed. So the GA will ensure not only a certain outcome, but also the way to do it. As important is the result as it is the way to achieve this result. And finally, the grant agreement will ensure that the action, the execution of your project, is done in compliance with applicable law. Non-compliance, as Pau finished, the financial manager finished his presentation, keep calm and follow the rules, because in case the performing of a project breaches the applicable rules of the grant agreement, this contract will also be our guide to handle these situations. No need to read it now. You can check the presentation later on. All presentations will be available, but you can identify the possible consequences of non-compliance in the chapter 6 of our model GA. The main parts of the GA. I will start with Annex 1. Annex 1 will be your project, will be your proposal, your full proposal submitted in the second stage. The same for Annex 2, as Pau Güell has explained, your budget of the action. And then the first part of the GA is the grant agreement itself with its 58 articles that will be signed only between PRIMA and the coordinator. The rest of the partners and possible linked third parties will sign the accession forms, the Annex 3 of the document. And when we will sign the contract, when we will sign the GA? Once the evaluation process is finished, performed by independent experts, as Fabrice has explained before in detail, then after this evaluation, the ranking list with the best projects is created. At that moment, our Board of Trustees, the PRIMA Foundation Board of Trustees, will approve the ranking list. And in that moment, our project officers, my colleagues, will contact you to give you the good news. And I will also contact you to start the procedure to sign the GA. And how is this procedure? Since we have a lot of newcomers, I will remind you that we don't use the EU funding and tenders portal. So we will exchange all the information, all documents, all documentation through email, and doing all the online meetings and calls that are needed. In particular, if your project is selected for funding, the first thing that we will do is to share this grant agreement procedure. As you can see in this slide, this is the workflow that we are following currently with the call 2022. And you can see that it's a kind of a strict workflow, but you need to be aware that we need to fulfill with the time to grant from the age 2020. And it means that we need to finalize the signature of the GA with no more than 8 months after the call closure, the moment that you will submit your full proposal in the second stage, and the signature of the GA. That's why, for example, we are providing a bit less than 2 months for signing the consortium agreement. So my recommendation is that in case your proposal is invited to submit the full proposal in the second stage, please be in mind that you will need to prepare the consortium agreement in probably in less than 2 months. And this brings me to what is the consortium agreement. Besides the GA that will be signed between you and PRIMA, all consortium partners with a granted project shall sign an internal agreement to set out the rights and obligations amongst themselves regarding the implementation of the project. This consortium agreement should complement our GA and must not contain any provision contrary to it. PRIMA will not be involved in this procedure, will not be involved in this document, and you are free to use any model of contract as long as it is not contrary with our contract. Amendments very quickly. We expect from you that you will submit a proposal that will be implemented without modifications. This is the theory. However, and only if it is justified, we can exceptionally, and I remark exceptionally, we can proceed with an amendment. And also taking into consideration that the amendment cannot modify the project in a way that could challenge the reasons that the evaluators identified in your project to select it for funding, because obviously this would break the principle of equal treatment among applicants. I'm almost reaching the end of my presentation, and also Pau Güell already talked about the possibility to use third parties and subcontractors, so I will be brief. Yes, you can use subcontractors and third parties to implement your action, but please keep in mind that they cannot perform essential or core tasks of the project. And also remember 2 main key rules when selecting the entities that will be subcontractors or third parties. Ensure best value for money when you are selecting them, and avoid possible conflict of interest. And finally, this is the last slide. We received some questions on this regard through the Q&A. So let's make it clear again now. We use the H2020 model for our GA, although adapted to the singularity of PRIMA. And you can check this model whenever you need. In our website is always available. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope that you will participate in the PRIMA Call 23, both in Section 1 or Section 2, and I wish you good luck. And I hope that I will contact you in less than a year to start the signature of your GA. Thank you very much again, and I wish you the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Julià, for this presentation. This is it for today. It has been a long day, plenty of information. I hope that it has been useful. We'll not now do a Slido, but I hope that the Slido next year will show that the information provided was very useful. Let's hope. Now it's the ball is on your roof, so you are the ones who will be writing proposals and will receive them with, as always, looking forward to receive very many proposals and very good proposals. For us, the excellence is very good, is our goal, and providing science at the highest quality possible around the Mediterranean. I'd like to thank you all for attending today. You've been very numerous. You still are 500 people in spite of being quite lagging behind our schedule. So thank you very much. I'd like to thank, of course, to all the speakers, to all the PRIMA staff and team, and not only those who spoke, but also those who made that possible, that is the administrative team, and of course to our guests today of both Maroun, Pavel, Vincent, and certainly our host, the UFM. Thank you very much, and have a very good time preparing your proposals that we'll be very glad to receive. Bye-bye.